Sid and Friends in the morning. Entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Sid Rosenberg. There he is. Sid. Do you want to come up here, Sid? Mark, should I let Sid come up, Mark? I think so. Come on, Sid. So Sid's got the #1 radio show in New York. Got the #1 radio show in New York, like by far.
A good number of 9/11 families have called on New York Mayor Zohran Mamdani to not attend a number of these memorial services. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think they're having a hard time with Mamdani. The people having to do with anybody having to do with 9/11 right now, on the victim side, and there are a lot of them, they're very unhappy with what's going on in New York, and they're very unhappy with the mayor.
Giovanni Galante. And he's the man that started this petition. I'm on board 100% to keep the mayor away from the 9/11 commemoration memorial service coming up this year, 25 years. First of all, how do people get to you to see the petition? And is there a number of people you think you need on that petition to make sure this man is not there?
I don't know if there's a number. Even if we had 1 million over, so I think he had 1 million votes to be mayor.
Yeah.
I think if we oversee that 1 million, maybe that'll work, but I don't know if it will.
Yeah.
Like you said before, I was listening to your show, he's going to show up. He doesn't have, we just ask for decency, respect, and just stay away.
Doesn't care. He doesn't care.
We're asking respectfully. We're not, we're not demonizing. We're stating facts. We're trying to move on. This is private to us. This is the day that we have private to us. I understand sometimes other politicians come, but they don't have those beliefs. We're not after politicians. We're not after people in general or Muslims or Jewish people. We're after people that don't have our values.
That's right.
That think that we deserve to get our loved ones murdered on a day that they're just going to work.
Elizabeth Boisman.
I mean, we have this committee, the Mayor's Advisory Committee on the Judiciary, right? We know mayors appoint judges to criminal court, family court. I mean, the mayor of New York, it's a powerful position. And every mayor since Mayor Koch has had this committee that recommends and evaluates judges for the criminal courts and the family courts, which we have vacancies on. And, the mayors always listen to the chief judge. They listen to other judges. They take their recommendations. And here we have the committee. It's got 18 members plus the chair, not a single Jew.
Wow.
Not a single Jew.
In my 6 months of being the mayor, I've had the privilege of appointing a dozen qualified judges from a range of backgrounds, including Jewish judges. And I want to be clear that any suggestion that the composition of the advisory committee was motivated by religion is false. We decided not to move forward with his appointment because of the fact that he served on Ghislaine Maxwell's legal defense team.
Years from now, they'll look back and say, what collective madness overtook this country. In his diary, he brags about convincing Democrats in New York and California to shut schools down, and yet he goes on TV and says, I wasn't for shutdowns. That level of contempt and dishonesty is disgraceful, and Dr. Fauci ought to think about what it says about the end of his career, that what he will be remembered for the most is pleading the fifth more than 100 times. He's been the most damaging bureaucrat in the history of America. And I will say the school shutdowns, which Fauci bragged that he was responsible for, may well be the single most destructive public policy step we've seen in decades. That learning loss will stick with those kids the rest of their lives. When they're 90 years old, they will still be suffering the consequences of Anthony Fauci's corrupt and dishonest shutdowns, and the fact that he knew he was lying to the American people. He should be held in contempt, he should be prosecuted for perjury, and he should go to jail.
Well, I want to know if he thinks it was worth it to meet Kim Kardashian that he destroyed the lives of millions of Americans. He was the reason I ran for office. His policies where he treated American citizens like lab rats was totally and utterly disgusting. And I'm going to see if he has even the courage to just apologize to the American people for what they put us through. And he damaged a lot of lives. I mean, he affected kids in a way that will never get their childhood back. He put mental illness in a lot of people who now are scared about all kinds of things. And he did incredible harm to the country. And you saw it in the diaries. The guy did not suffer a low ego. I mean, he thought he was the sexiest man alive. You know, I think he's one of these guys that chased wisdom his entire life. Unfortunately, God didn't give him speed.
Of course, he's going to take the fifth, and I really took the opportunity to show up and acknowledge. I lost family members from COVID, and people lost their businesses during that as too. And I was like, did I have regrets? Well, I did. One, for sure, is, this idea that it could have come from the lab. That was like, crazy bright. Fringe kind of thing, and I'm like, it seemed to make sense to me. That's kind of more just a coincidence. I hope the next time this happens, we can follow where the truth is, depending on if there's an R or D after the name or whatever the side is coming, because especially like it's a virus, the only side is really Americans versus the virus in the future. I've had loved ones die from COVID, but I also met and I've heard from countless people that lost their businesses. That's devastating. I mean, it's a different kind of death. So that's what a terrible time that it was. So I know Dr. Fauci was going to take the fifth. So I just, like I said, I expressed my one regret, being more willing to push that idea that was the lab leak.
Maybe he pled the fifth because his brain was fried for the 15 boosters he recommended everyone else take, but chances are he probably didn't take himself. The man who kept us from our families, our dying elders, and our jobs. The man who forced businesses into bankruptcy and forced seniors to live alone in solitude. The man who threatened that we needed to listen to him as if he were a god. The man who funded gain-of-function research through the National Institute of Health, which ultimately caused COVID. The man who conspired with Obama and big tech to make sure that Americans lost their voice and their right to speak and object to anything he said, testified today before Congress. And guess what? He invoked the Fifth Amendment more than 120 times. By refusing to answer these questions, it was clear that he knew what was at stake. He knew that if he were to tell the truth, that we would have to indict him for perjury based upon the emails, the witnesses, and everything we know today compared to what he was saying to Americans years ago when we were all victimized by him and his dictates. He knew if he lied, he would be charged with perjury. And so he pled the fifth. The man who spent years funding experiments that cut Beagle's vocal cords so they couldn't scream while experiments were done on them is the one who today has gone completely silent. Fauci pleading the fifth today is pure irony. Now this man, Anthony Fauci, is no better than the dogs he victimized. No bark and no bite. May he live in infamy as the man who did everything he could to destroy this country.
I disagreed with him on a lot. I would have had to close down the whole country if I listened to him. I went the Federalist way, which is basically to let the governors decide. Fauci wanted to have nobody wearing masks, if you remember, and then everybody had to wear 5 masks, as many masks as you could get. I mean, he made a lot of mistakes, and he wasn't a big factor for me. He was a very big factor for Biden. You remember, even though we were prime time in terms of that whole disaster of COVID, fewer in the Trump administration than in the Biden administration.
Anthony Fauci, and you heard from 5 different people at the very end of the open talking about what transpired yesterday. Teddy Cruz, who I call Teddy Politics. Then you heard from Moreno without the F word. John Fetterman, who is quickly becoming a Republican. He's just about done with the Democrat Party. He was good yesterday. I mean, to a certain point, he was frustrated with Fauci, but he also showed Fauci some empathy. He actually said, this guy's 85 years old. You're beating the hell out of him every 10 minutes. So Fetterman was kind of on both sides of the fence yesterday. Janine Pirro, our old buddy, the U.S. attorney in D.C., and then President Trump. So here's what we know. Anthony Fauci faced that Senate hearing yesterday. Rand Paul, who I don't like, I've told you this a million times, don't like him. Feel like he wakes up every day just looking for any reason to disagree with President Trump. One of those guys, you know. Like his buddy in Kentucky, Tom Massey, another douchebag. But, unlike a lot of you out there, remember I voted for Hillary Clinton, and now Trump and I are great buddies. In fact, I heard from Margot Martin yesterday, and it looks like President Trump is going to do a video from me congratulating me on my Hall of Fame induction. We're tight, real tight. I didn't vote for him, okay? I was able to change my mind. Same thing with Rand Paul. I don't like the guy, but I'll give him credit when he's good. And yesterday, Rand Paul was great. He laid it out for you. All the lies that Anthony Fauci told you. No masks, we need masks, right? Shut it down, don't shut it down, shut it down. Keep the kids at home. I didn't say that. Well, I kind of did say that. So Paul somehow got this diary, this Fauci diary, and in the diary, Anthony Fauci contradicts just about everything he said publicly. And he bragged about his relationships with assholes like New York Mayor Bill de Blasio and how he shut it down for de Blasio and California Governor Gavin Newsom and all the Hollywood folks that loved him. He brags about all of them. All of them. Seemed like Anthony Fauci just wanted to be a superstar, and he got there. He got there in a big way. Now, while he was doing that, of course, he was lying about the origins of COVID. And if they're lying about that, between the shutdowns and the vaccines, many people were affected negatively as well and died. Anthony Fauci and Joe Biden, more people died under Biden and Fauci from COVID than Trump. Poor President Trump, he's having the presidency of a lifetime. Right, he's going to walk right back in 2020. Here comes COVID. If you don't believe the election was rigged, here comes COVID. And he gets smacked across the face. And less people died under Trump's leadership, my guy, than under Biden and Fauci. And they had all the answers. You know, you still see people in Central Park here in New York, mostly here in New York, because this city is absolutely insane. We've got the sickest and dumbest and most retarded people right here in New York. We do. You know, they still walk around on an 85-degree day with that beautiful vitamin D sunshine wearing masks. And one of the things that I did during COVID was never wear a mask. It pissed off Danielle. It pissed off the employers here. I remember they kept sending out emails, you got to wear a mask. I wouldn't do it. And my thought was, especially during the summer, that vitamin D basically cures everything, and the mask cured nothing, because the truth is, unless you taped it to the sides of your mouth, if there was a little bit of an opening, it didn't protect you. People were wearing 2 masks, 3 masks, visors. I don't want to call them stupid. They were scared, but they were stupid. And I got to the point where I just didn't wear it. I never did. So one day, this is a true story. Norma Lou, you know this. I'm living 915 West End Avenue. Nice building. Colbert Perez, my doorman. I love him. 104th. Actually, it was between 104th and 105th on West End Avenue. And my wife is there, Danielle, my beautiful wife, my kids, Ava and Gabe, living in the building. And I come down one morning, and I see in the lobby 3 different posters of me. You can't make this up. I'm living in the building, spending more rent than anybody else. They were still charging me over $8,000 a month in that apartment during COVID. There's 3 posters of me, and the sign read, if you see this man without a mask, call 911. I go to my doorman, I go, bro, my kids are in this building. You can't have the residents who I live with and see every day threaten to arrest me. He's like, Sid, I can't stop them. That's how crazy these people were, and that's how much they hated my guts. That's why I moved. Well, that's one of the reasons why. I just wouldn't wear a mask. I knew it didn't help. See, I didn't care what Dr. Fauci said. I didn't care what a lot of the doctors said. I didn't even care what my bosses said. I had my own set of rules. Now, the one thing I do regret, because I lived in Manhattan and because when it came to restaurants, I like to go out to eat every once in a while. So did my family. Or ball games, big Met game, big Yankee game. You couldn't go to any of these events unless you got vaccinated. So you couldn't even travel. And we wanted to go to Florida, I forget what year it was, on vacation. You couldn't go to the airport. You couldn't get on a plane. You couldn't live. They made you get these vaccines. I know people who didn't do it, and they feel like they're the real warriors. Good for them. Good for them. At least I enjoyed partially some of my life during COVID. A lot of you guys had nothing because I got the booster. I did. So did my kids. My son's blood pressure shot up to a very, very high number. It was very, very scary. But we did it. Thank God everybody survived. We don't think anybody has any ill effects today. But I was able to go to Florida. I was able to go to the Met game. I was able to go to a restaurant. And I walked around with a card like they did in Nazi Germany. And that was because Anthony Fauci and Bill de Blasio and Governor Andrew Cuomo, also guilty in all of this, very guilty, decided that they love the power. You remember Cuomo? When he first started, how great he was? You had me and Bernard, my late great partner, God rest his soul. We went on the air more than once, and we said, oh, my God, this guy Cuomo, he's presidential. We had about a 10-day period where me and Bernard fell in love with Cuomo like everybody else. The difference is, 10 days later, 10 days, not months, we figured it out. The rest of you morons, you stuck with him. And after 10 days, we started to eviscerate Andrew Cuomo, started showing his true colors. Everything President Trump tried to do, Andrew Cuomo wanted no part of, right? Bringing the ship here to New York and the job, all the things that the federal government and other folks wanted to do, but Cuomo loved it. He was on TV every day with his short-sleeve shirt and his tan. His inbox was full of ladies out there, single and married, telling how great he was. He was going to be the next president of the United States. And then we all figured it out. It was terrible what he did. He destroyed this state, and people died under his leadership. He can explain it away all he wants. People died in big numbers. Ask Janice Dean under his leadership. It was a mess. It was a one big mess. And Anthony Fauci was right at the center of all of it. He was the guy. Everybody listened to Fauci. The education people, they should also be in prison. Randy Weingarten, what a horrible lady. Horrible lady. Michael Mulgrew. All these people should go to prison. See, that's the issue with yesterday. I know Rand Paul is going to try to hold Fauci in contempt next week, but nothing's going to happen. Truth is, Anthony Fauci should go to prison, but he's not going to. He's 85 years old. He got his ass kicked yesterday, even though he took the fifth 111 times, and it's going to go away. That's it. We're not going to forget. And he's going to die, and he's going to die an infamous broken man, not the superstar he was 5 years ago, but he's not going to jail. Andrew Cuomo didn't go to jail. Hillary Clinton didn't go to jail. Randy Weingarten, Michael Mulgrew didn't go to jail. Bill de Blasio's wife, who stole $1 billion from this city. Bill, that disgusting animal, him and his wife, they didn't go to jail. Nobody goes to jail unless you're associated with Trump. People like General Michael Flynn, who turns out is a pretty big douchebag, and Paul Manafort. And those types of people. Who's my other guy that I actually like? Navarro. And a guy that has disappointed me time and time again, Steve Bannon. But those guys go to jail because they were in and around President Trump. But the Democrats, people die, they lie. They die, they lie. And there's no repercussions. And I think you would agree, Norm, there'll be no repercussions here.
No, yesterday, look, lawmakers know that there's nothing's going to happen. So it's a moment for them to tarnish his image, to show. Which
they did every time he took the fifth. He took the fifth, if you're keeping score at home, 111 times. 111 times he took the fifth. Now, an innocent man doesn't take the fifth. Now, you know that if he does talk, he does leave himself open to perjury, and he can go to jail. But a guy that's really innocent, he'll take that chance. Because you know once you take the fifth, you're basically saying guilty, but I'm not going to say anything because I don't want to go to jail. Is that fair to say?
I guess. I mean, I would suggest that when you go before a hearing like that, and if there's any possibility that some information you're going to give contradicts something you've said in the past, that your lawyer would tell you to invoke the fifth time after time, like he did yesterday.
Shut up.
Yeah, a good lawyer would tell you to do that anyway.
Yeah. Well, what was your take from yesterday? I can't do this all day long. Greg Kelly, I love his show, and I think Greg is one of the smartest guys on radio. Does a really good show. He really does. He spent a lot of time on this yesterday, and we did too. We actually had Miranda Devine on live during the hearing. I am not going to spend hours and hours on this today because why? I mean, he took the fifth. We know what he did. I just explained it to you for the last 20-plus minutes, how it affected New York City. So if you want round-the-clock Anthony Fauci attention, this is not going to be the show this morning. So I want to get everybody to give me a quick feeling on it. Ron Johnson will join us. That's a huge guest. Wisconsin Senator Ron Johnson, who's at the very forefront of all the COVID news, including the vaccine story. He's going to join us in the 7 o'clock hour. So we are going to cover it, but it's not going to be wall-to-wall Fauci, because I saw enough yesterday. So what did you take from it?
I think if you saw Kentucky Senator Rand Paul, and they were smart, the Republicans, to have him lead the hearing. He was the one who has the most information. He lays it out.
He was great. He was great. And the difference is, Rand Paul, to your point, you're right. He's got all the information. He laid it out. He made it very, very clear that Fauci lied, that he knew from day one that it was created in a lab. It wasn't about the virus jumping from an animal to a human being. He laid it all out. All of it, made it very, very clear that Fauci lied time and time again. He had the info. Ron Johnson, who will join me this morning, he's more emotional. So you get the Rand Paul, who's very detailed, right? And then you get the emotion with Ron Johnson. And then other guys that chimed in, like I said, Bernie Moreno, who used the F word, and others that were also very emotional. But you're right, Noam, Rand Paul, who, like I say, most of the time I've got not nice things to say about Rand. Yesterday, he was terrific.
Yeah, and I think after that, you could have turned it off because you didn't learn anything new after that.
No, but you wanted to see everybody beat his ass.
I guess. It got boring after a while.
That's what I thought, too. I thought it got boring, too. All these things become boring for me. I don't know. But I get bored very, very easily. That's why this is a great show, because you're never going to hear me spend 1 to 2 hours on one topic, ever. We jump around all over the place, and that's part of my ADHD, but that makes for great radio. I was bored, too. In fact, I didn't even see some of the people we played today.
You didn't miss anything.
No?
No, I mean, Rand Paul did the best job, and that's
what
why
about
he was
the people
first.
that defended him? What kind of sick bastards, like Peters out of Michigan?
Well, that was their job, right?
Why is that
the
their
Democrats.
job?
Well,
wait a second. You're going to tell me that did COVID only kill Democrats? Did COVID only kill Republicans? How could COVID possibly be a partisan issue? How?
Well, it is.
But how?
It became one. It still is.
Well, everything becomes a partisan issue. I understand that. But, I mean, if these Democrats, they don't understand how stupid they sound. I mean, we've got detailed information, detailed on how this guy lied about everything, contradicted everything he said publicly in his own diary, and they're still going to stand by this guy?
Well, they did, one by one.
No, I know. It shows you how disgusting that party is. Seriously.
Or stupid.
They're not stupid. No, they're not stupid. They're evil. It's worse.
Okay.
They're not stupid.
Combination.
Yeah.
No,
they know exactly what's going on. They just...
A lot of it could be, Trump's for it.
Well, that's it. No, that's it.
But that is...
You just nailed it. That's not stupid. That's evil. They know better. Yeah, but you just nailed it. Trump. Everything Trump says or feels, they need to find a way to go the other way. Even at times like this. But what are we talking about here? This is not about Trump. People died in big numbers. We shut down economies. Businesses died. People killed themselves. Little kids are morons. They really are. Compare our kids to other kids around the world. This is not a joke. This is not about Trump. It's not about Republicans versus Democrats. It's right versus wrong. That's it. Right versus wrong. And Anthony Fauci and the Democrats were wrong. Even Patricia Heaton, who was on that TV show, Everybody Loves Raymond. No, I'm sorry. She actually talked about 9/11, not this. There were a couple of Democrat performers, though, who have come to our side of the aisle. When I say our side, not Republicans, but sane people who know that Anthony Fauci is a terrible man. Terrible man. What do you think about him, though?
Yeah, I mean, I think he contradicts a lot of what he of.
You don't want to go as far as saying he's a terrible man?
No, I don't think he's a terrible man. But
you don't think he's wait.
Yeah,
wait. He knew what he was doing was going to damage.
I don't know that he did.
I don't know that he did. Well, they said in the diary.
Do you want to let me finish what I'm going to say?
Not really. You've already annoyed the hell out of me.
All right, so then I won't finish.
God. Fine, finish. Go ahead. Let me hear the rest of this.
We were living through a crazy time, and he had to navigate that, and there was definitely portions of that he did not do well.
Portions?
Yeah.
Well, just like a
book.
Look,
he was getting he wasn't the sole arbiter, right? He was getting advice from other leading health officials around the world on how to handle this.
He helped fund the whole disaster. What are you talking about? And he was the guy that President Trump, I know Birx was there and others.
Well,
he
why
was
did
the
the
guy we
president
relied
fire
on.
So the president should have fired him if he was getting bad advice.
Well,
and he
the
thought
president
it wasn't
was scared to death. He didn't know it was bad advice until later.
Well, okay, that's a problem.
If you said what you said just now 6 years ago, I give you credence. But now knowing what we know, knowing that he admitted he lied in his diary, what else do you need to see before you call him a bad guy?
There are a lot of contradictions in that diary. Did you read all of those things? Because if you look through it, there's no smoking gun that says that there's no huge, gigantic revelation. There just isn't. There's a lot of stuff that he lied about, or that he said something 6 years ago. Now he says something different.
You can't put two and two together? You need to have everything written down. You need to have Anthony Fauci actually say in the diary, I lied, to figure out he lied?
We were living through something that we had never lived through before, and he was trying to navigate that.
No, he wasn't trying to do anything.
He made some mistakes along the way.
He was trying to cover his ass. He lied.
I just don't think he's a terrible person, that's all. I disagree with you.
Wow. What do you think, Lou?
I think the whole thing confirms what I always think is I don't trust anybody. That's it.
So do you think Anthony Fauci is a terrible person?
I think he's part of a whole big bad.
I'm not saying he was alone. I was asking about him specifically.
Yes, he's a bad person.
He's a very bad person. I agree with you.
Yeah,
very, very bad person.
Somebody has got to tell us the truth about what's going on.
And he knew better. He did know. He did know.
Yeah,
regardless
these
of
are
what
the
Norm was
experts
saying.
we're relying on.
Yeah, and he lied.
Yeah,
lied time and time again, like Ted Cruz, lying Ted. We'll play Trump again here. Let's play Trump number 6 when he criticizes Fauci on his handling of COVID-19.
Fauci wanted to have nobody wearing masks, if you remember, and then everybody had to wear 5 masks, as many masks as you could get. I mean, he made a lot of mistakes, and he wasn't a big factor for me. He was a very big factor for Biden.
Cut number 7, he talks about how fewer people died under his stay than Biden. Cut number 7.
You remember, even though we were sort of prime time in terms of that whole disaster of COVID, far people died, fewer in the Trump administration than in the Biden administration.
Let's move to Iran. So, obviously my comments about Mamdani received a lot of attention. I was trending number 3 on Twitter on Saturday. You know the whole thing. I called him a terrorist on television. Well, you know what surprised me? And Noam, I don't think you saw this. This one shocked me. And I'm okay with it. I actually spoke to the guy last night. Noam, you know the name Garrett Seawright?
That name sounds awfully familiar.
Yes, because I've mentioned him a million times. So Garrett Seawright is the top writer for Barrett Media. He's Jason Barrett's go-to guy. So I end up in Barrett Media on their website about 2 or 3 times a week. There's not a radio host in the country that is on that site more than me. Okay? And that's the group, Barrett Media, that has now become really the industry standard for us when it comes to talk radio, even music and sports, all of it. And you may remember 2 years ago, Barrett Media had me as the number 1 news talk show host in the country. And last year they had our morning show, number 1 in the country. So Jason Barrett, Garrett Seawright, they have showed me and you guys, this show, a tremendous amount of respect. And I don't remember ever anything negative coming from Barrett Media about me until yesterday when Garrett Seawright wrote a story and said that Sid Rosenberg's appearance on Fox News on Saturday should be a warning to television execs that when you bring on a controversial talk radio guy, you may get what you get with Sid on Saturday. He was upset that I called Mamdani a terrorist. So I texted Seawright like Trump would do last night. I go, a little rough on me, nobody? He said, yeah, but at least I was fair. I said, okay, you were fair, but you were wrong. And I explained to him how you've got Hamas leaders sitting in Qatar right now. They've never put on an explosive vest. They've never fired a gun. They're terrorists. When you align with terrorists, when you accept the same ideology as terrorists, you're a terrorist. That's it. That's Mamdani. You don't have to kill somebody to be a terrorist. And he disagreed again. He said, well, the one thing we agree on is you looked really good on TV. I said, thank you, Gary. So he actually took me to task on the Mamdani part. But the other part that's getting me killed on Twitter as well was before I even touched Mamdani with Rachel Campos, Duffy, Griff Jenkins, and Charlie Hurt, was they started with Iran because they were shocked when I was on a month ago that I wasn't with Trump, that I kept saying a month ago, Trump needs to finish the job. And it was pretty much the same conversation this time around. Although they tried to pin me as a guy who wants to see Americans die on the ground. And you're going to hear the order I'm going to play next. I never said that. In fact, I said anything but. But that hasn't stopped psychos and traitors, that's what they are, like Alex Jones, Glenn Greenwald, General Michael Flynn, some guy Kyle Seraphin, that loser Joe Kent. I know he served our country. I don't care. I've got a couple of examples of people like Graham Plattner who have served our country that are still bad people. And no one loves the vets and the cops and all these guys more than me. Joe Kent is not a good guy. So let's go back, Lewis, to my appearance last Saturday on Fox News. This is not Mamdani. This is me on Iran, also getting me a whole bunch of hate on Twitter when I made it very, very clear we just got to win. We just got to finish this. This is cut number 15.
It is inevitable that President Trump is going to have to do what he doesn't want to do, which is go in there with this massive all-out attack. There's no other way to stop this. There's no other way to win this war. So, again, he's trying to do the best he can. He's a very nice man. I love President Trump. He doesn't want people to die. He really doesn't. Okay, he's a nice man. But there's no other way to end this. Once you start this, Midnight Hammer was great. Epic Fury was great. Once you start this, there needs to be a finish. And the only finish is complete surrender by the Iranians. I hate to say it, but complete annihilation.
Well, we talked last time about this. And by the way, I agree. I love President Trump. I love his heart, I think, is really for peace. And he's always, I love that even now, this past week, he's still talking about peace and wanting to find and leaving that door open for negotiations. You say the only end is annihilation. Now, what if winning this war requires boots on the ground? I asked you that last time. That's not very popular with the American people. What is your response to that?
It's not popular with me either. Look, I'm not a parent of an Army person, a Marine person, so I'm very sensitive to that. Trust me. But look, we have the Army, we have the Marines for a reason. They're not there to shake your hand at the airport, Rachel. Okay? They're there for a reason. Last I checked, we don't have a draft in this country. So these courageous men and women know exactly what they're signing up for. This is war. We don't want to see anybody die, but this is war. A war that started 47 years ago that they started. So, yes, I know the moral ground is to say, I don't want our kids to die. I feel the same way. But we got to win. Now, we can win maybe without putting boots on the ground. Maybe we can. I don't know. I'm not Jack Keane. I don't have that type of information. If we can do that, great. But if at some point it requires putting some boots on the ground to win this war, that's why they signed up. To fight for this country, to fight for President Trump, and to rid the world of evil animals like the Iranian regime.
Can I just ask, what does victory look like to you? Are you serious? You really want just until they're annihilated and there's a regime change? Is that final for you?
That's it. I mean, look, I want to get the dust. I want to open the strait. All that's important. But if you leave these animals in power, You are destined. Look, what is the definition of insanity? Do the same thing over and over and again, expect different results. If you leave the IRGC in power, we're going to have the same issues in 5 years, in 10 years when the great President Trump, is gone. So we have no choice at this point but to go in there. And yes, regime change, I know it's two dirty words. That's part of winning the war ultimately.
What was so wrong about that, Noam? You tell me. Was I not incredibly sensitive to our courageous kids, the parents that I say I'd rather do it without boots on the ground? I'm not Jack Keane. I don't know all the answers. So you tell me why these idiots like Alex Jones and Joe Kent and even the Fox hosts that look at me with this stink eye, what do I say there that's so awful?
First of all, nothing terrible. But what I find just completely comical and funny is that they invite you on. They invite Sid Rosenberg on to Fox and Friends in the Morning on Saturday morning. And what they want is Sid. But when they do get Sid, they have to then go apologize.
Yeah,
That makes no sense to me.
You're right.
So
Well,
don't invite you on. If you don't
right.
want Sid, it's like Brian Kilmeade invites you on because he knows he's getting Sid.
And he gets big ratings. He admits that every time.
So then Fox has to apologize twice afterwards. I mean, come on. And that they invited you on for that reason, because they wanted people to tune in. They wanted the aftermath of those videos being shared. They love all that stuff. But then on air, they make these apologies. I just think that's kind of silly.
It was silly. And they've received a lot of pushback for it. Twitter for days. People were killing Griff Jenkins and Fox News. They never brought it up, Fox News. I mean, look, when I was done, I got texts from both Rachel Campo-Stuppy and Griff Jenkins. Rachel just sent the emoji of fire. You come on, it's fire. And that's what they want. 7:20 on a Saturday morning. Do you know how boring the guests were before and after me?
Of course.
I mean, Jesus, come on. So I gave them, like you said, I gave them Sid. They get great ratings. People talk about it for days. No one talks about any segment on Fox. I hate to say it. Trump goes on Hannity. Okay, you get a little bit the next morning. That's about it. And he's a big-time show. Jesse Waters, no one talks about it. They've been talking about my appearance for days. They're writing columns about it 5 days later. If you're Fox, what else do you want? And yet there are still people telling me they'd be surprised if Fox ever brought me back again. I mean, I'm controversial. I got great opinions. I'm the best-looking guy on that network. When I come on, what else do you want, Noam? You tell me.
Yeah. Again, if you're inviting Sid on to your show, no matter where it is, you're going to get Sid. You're not going to hold back. And so they should come to expect that. And just the fact that they apologized twice.
Twice, I know.
Twice.
You think they'll bring me back?
Well, no, maybe not, because that apology didn't come from the show, from Fox and Friends. It came from somebody much higher. Somebody was
that's
watching.
my thought.
Of
I mean, no
course.
one has admitted that yet, Griff Jenkins.
Well, no, he can't decide to make that apology.
Right.
That's not his call.
You're
That's
right.
not even the producer or the director of the show's call. That's
right.
somebody on a higher floor who is saying, watching the show early on Saturday morning and saying, oh, no, we need to make up for this. And so they forced Griff to do that apology not once, but twice.
Yeah, and I like Griff, and I know he was uncomfortable doing it. He may not admit that, but I did already. It's been in print for a couple of days. He may be mad at me. I don't know. But listen, I just call it the way I see it. And the way I talked about Iran there was anything but heartless. Anything but. We do need to get the dust. We need to make sure the strait is opened, and we need to wipe out the IRGC. What is so crazy about that? And if we can do it without boots on the ground, as I said right there, you heard it, let's do it. I don't want to see one American killed. 18 have died already. But if we can't, then you got to win. What is so crazy about that? What? What else is going on, Noam?
Well, locally, unfortunately, you have this incredibly tragic story out of Passaic, New Jersey overnight. So
just mentioning Passaic, New Jersey is tragic.
Yeah. So 3 kids, I think all 10 years old, go into the Passaic River. This was about 6:30 last night. Yeah. And the current, because of all the rain, it's already strong anyway in the Passaic, but because of all the rain we've had recently, even stronger. The minute they get in, they can't swim. To get out of it, one boy goes under right away. They found his body about 10 o'clock last night. And that 10-year-old, his sister, he pushed his sister to shore, basically saved his life as he died. So she made it to shore. And now there's a third person, a little girl, I think right around the same age, 10 years old. They're back in the Passaic River this morning looking for that 10-year-old girl. So just a horrible night all around in Passaic.
That is terrible.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully they find her, and I doubt she's going to be okay at this point, but
No, likely that's not going to have a good ending. I don't know if you saw this yesterday. Mayor Mamdani on the defensive as he was responding to reporters' questions about the criticism over not appointing any Jews to his 18-member committee that will recommend lawyers for New York City judgeships.
I got bad news for you. It's actually 19 because you've got the chair. It's 18 plus 1.
That is true.
Now that you brought it up, let me play this. Mm-hmm. This was Elizabeth Forspan on this show 2 days ago. She came on. I had a 3-way phone conversation with Arthur Aidala started. Aidala said, you got to talk to this girl, Liz. I said, about what? He said, well, there's no Jews on the committee. I said, really? So he had a 3-way phone conversation, me, Aidala, and Forspan 3 days ago. And 2 days ago, Forspan made her appearance on this show. We were first. Since then, she's done New York One, other shows, but we were first. And she talked about what you're going to tell us in a moment, Noam, which is 19 people on this Judiciary Committee in the city, not one Jew. Leventhal, he got whacked, and Noam's going to play Mamdani's answer why. But here's Forspan on the problem, Lewis, cut number 10. Elizabeth Forspan.
I mean, we have this committee, the Mayor's Advisory Committee on the Judiciary, right? We know mayors appoint judges to criminal court, family court. I mean, the mayor of New York, it's a powerful position. And every mayor since Mayor Koch has had this committee that recommends and evaluates judges for the criminal courts and the family courts, which we have vacancies on. And, the mayors always listen to the chief judge. They listen to other judges. They take their recommendations. And here we have the committee. It's got 18 members plus the chair, not a single Jew.
Wow.
Not a single Jew.
Not one. So you're about to tell us what the mayor had to say yesterday.
Well, here's what the mayor said.
In my 6 months of being the mayor, I've had the privilege of appointing a dozen qualified judges from a range of backgrounds, including Jewish judges. And I want to be clear that any suggestion that the composition of the advisory committee was motivated by religion
well,
is
hold on.
false.
Let me stop it right there for a second. He said, including Jewish judges, and he hasn't picked any. What do you mean? It's not about the ethnicity or religion or... He just said all these great qualified people, including Jews, and he hasn't picked one Jew out of 19.
And to play into the stereotype just a little bit, this is why sometimes stereotypes come from real life situations. There's about 140,000 lawyers in New York City, and it's believed anywhere from a third to a half of them are Jewish.
Yeah, the Jews and the Italians are the best lawyers. I'm sorry if you're Irish out there, you're a lawyer. I'm sure you're terrific, but the Jews and the Italians are the best lawyers. That's it. Whether it's Alan Dershowitz, Jew, Joe Tacopina, Italian, Arthur Aidala, Italian, Danielle Rosenberg, Jew. Jews and Italians are the best lawyers. And the best cooks.
So you'd have to almost go out of your way to form an 18-member committee without somebody who's Jewish.
Right. So the mayor's a lying, thieving anti-Semite. And, this 9/11 thing was big again. I played this in the open. And now you got Patricia Heaton from Everybody Loves Raymond on the cover of today's New York Post saying, Mr. Mayor, nobody wants you there. Nobody. See, the problem is, and I made this point yesterday, a lot of the 9/11 families, they don't even like the day. In other words, they don't like when people talk about the day. I had a big fight with Adam Schefter, ESPN TV star years and years ago. He married a widow of 9/11. Her husband was killed at the World Trade Center. And he helped raise her daughter. Now they've got their own children. And he yelled at me one time. The season started on 9/11. This is years ago. I was still down in Florida. And I said, hey, Adam, and he was on every week. We were very, very close. I said, any significance that the season starts this Sunday on 9/11? And he actually said, Sid, I wish you guys in the media would stop. Us guys, the families, we don't want to talk about it. We don't want to see the planes hit the buildings. We don't want to talk about it. That's what you guys do. We don't do that. Mind you, I've spoken to many 9/11 families since, and Adam Schefter is not representative of the majority. They want us to never forget, like Frank Siller says. And if you stop talking about it, Adam, you moron, you forget about it. So I understand that you're butthurt and you married a girl who went through it. You didn't. But the truth is, you got to talk about it, or you forget. And people don't forget, and they don't want this mayor down there. And I have been all over this. I think I've been at the very forefront of this. And I had the guy on who started the petition a couple of days ago. Very, very brave soul, Giovanni Galante. So President Trump actually talked about this yesterday, about how 9/11 families don't want this jihad, radical jihad mayor down at that sacred soil. This, Lewis, is President Trump, cut number 8.
A good number of 9/11 families have called on New York Mayor Zohran Mamdani to not attend a number of these memorial services. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think they're having a hard time with Mamdani. The people having to do with anybody having to do with 9/11 right now, on the victim side, and there are a lot of them, they're very unhappy with what's going on in New York, and they're very unhappy with the mayor.
Yeah, he's being nice, unhappy. We hate his guts. So what else you got on that, Noam?
I think you have it all.
What is that petition up to? When he was on with me, it went from 15,000 to 42,000.
Yeah, it'll take me a second to find it, but...
what other stories you have? Because it's been a 52-minute segment to open the show.
I think you've covered most of the big ones. I mean, you had Bruce Blakeman yesterday at Penn Station talking to voters, and he said that basically he wants Democrats in New York City, and he said he's going to spend a lot of time here, who are upset with Mamdani, to know that if you vote for him as governor, he will make sure that Mamdani's kept in check.
Yes, he made it very clear as a guest on this show yesterday, before his Penn Station appearance, which you just talked about, that he's running against both. He's running against the incumbent governor, Kathy Hochul, and the mayor, Mamdani, because he's a guy that can remove Mamdani, which he probably wouldn't do. But at the very least, he would hold Mamdani in check. I will say this. I realize that to win this election, and I've taken it upon myself to help Bruce, because I've got that type of influence in this city. Being honest, I'm not trying to come off as a dick. I'm being honest. And I've been told that, the black vote, the Latino vote, we need to do a good job with that. When I say we, I'm talking about Bruce Blakeman. So I took it upon myself, we're going to love this, Noam, to call Ruben Diaz yesterday. I have never met Ruben Diaz. I have never spoken to Ruben Diaz. And when I got the number and made the call, I was sitting in an Uber thinking to myself, this guy may have no idea who I am, or he may really not like me. I ran both of those things through my head and took that chance, Noam. And I got to tell you, I call him. He picks up the phone. I say, hey, it's Sid Rosenberg. He stops. I don't know who was with him. But he literally screams, oh, my God, who's on the phone? Sid Rosenberg. He was so happy to talk to me. I was really very, very humbled. And before we even talked about Blakeman or Mamdani or the vote, he said, Sid, I'm with you on Israel. I want to do something with Israel. I want to do a march. Or at the very least, I want you to come to the Bronx and do a press conference. I want to stand beside you and show our solidarity for Israel. I'm like, wow. I go, Ruben, I just called you to put something together for Bruce. We want the Hispanic vote. And at the end of the conversation, we talked about that. We're going to do something very, very big, very big. But he started off, he was so happy to talk to me, and he wants to do something with me on Israel. That was really cool. So I love Ruben Diaz, just so you know, Noam. I know you don't like him, but...
No, Ruben's great.
You sure?
He's a great interview.
He actually, he does think Anthony Fauci is a terrible person.
He probably does.
Yeah. So you still like him? He does do a great interview. And when Trump did that thing in the Bronx, in the park, when he was campaigning, and because he had to go to court every day for that loser Alvin Bragg, Ruben Diaz played a major role in that, right?
He did, yeah.
So, all right, I think we're done, right?
Unless you care what happened in Iran overnight.
I do. I've got about 2 minutes.
Okay,
55 minutes.
U.S. military launches this heavy wave of strikes against Iran. That was in retaliation for Iran's attempted attack on that U.S. base in Jordan that happened Tuesday night. And so there was loud explosions, mostly in the southern part of Iran. Iran is accusing the U.S. of hitting a residential apartment building overnight. We don't know if that's true. And then this morning, there's vows of retribution from Iran's Revolutionary Guard. They say the Strait of Hormuz will remain closed and that they called the aggressor, meaning the U.S., will be punished at some point today. But the president, yesterday he promised there was going to be retribution for what happened in Jordan, and he followed through on it overnight.
Just kill him. Last thing, Pat Russo checks in, the amazing cop, the whole boxing thing. I love Pat Russo. And he just sent me the petition, 9/11. It is up to 49,000. So it's gone up 34,000 since he made an appearance on this show the last 2 days. All right, we've got a big guest list coming up.
Sid and Friends in the morning on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
My daughter, who did a great job in Cardiff, actually, in the United Kingdom, completing her 3 years of college studies. See, in Europe, first of all, it's cheaper than the American universities. Second of all, it's nicer, okay, even though my daughter was doxxed and made miserable. But you get to take on your actual profession in your studies. So you don't got to do 4 years of silly classes and 4 years of law school. Ava completed her law studies during her 3 years in Wales. But she does come home about 35 credits shy before she can take the bar. So it does require another bit of schooling. And she applied to some of the best law schools in the country for these final credits. And she got in to University of Pennsylvania, which is huge nachas for Danielle and I. Huge nachas. What a great job by Ava. And today she goes. She'll be there till May. She'll take the bar next July. So today we head to Pennsylvania, which is great because unlike England, the United Kingdom, she could be home in an hour and a half. And I even said to Ava, I said, I'll come out to visit you quite a bit. I actually like to watch the Ivy League play college basketball. So I'd like to watch Penn play Harvard or Penn play Yale. And the university is only a couple of minutes away from the home of the Philadelphia 76ers. And I would like to go see the Knicks take on LeBron James and the Sixers in Philly. But you can always get a ticket, even with this team. They got a great team. They got Jaylen Brown. They got James. They got Embiid. They got Maxey. So I said to Ava, I said, I'll come out there quite a bit. You'll come home quite a bit. So it's not as bad today, Noam, as those Sundays that you and Lou remember. I would drop her at the airport with Danielle Sunday night, right after the football games, and I'd be crying for like 3 hours. Here, she could be home in like 90 minutes. You know Philadelphia very well, Noam.
Yeah, I have a kid that went to Temple, so
right there.
Yeah,
isn't Temple right there?
Yeah, Temple's North Philly, but not West Philly, where she's going to school. It's become this great neighborhood. You'll like walking around.
It's awesome, right?
Yeah,
she's got a really cool apartment, and they're going to be fun. She can't be that far from Temple or Villanova.
No,
as well,
it's
right?
like maybe 15 minutes subway ride or something like that.
Right. So we go today, and that's why I'm not going to be here tomorrow, and I'll be back Monday. Oh, we'll take a break. When we get back, we start our first guest. We start our guest list, I should say, with our first guest on this Thursday morning. Comes highly recommended. His name is Gerard Marone. Again, I think he was with President Trump yesterday. Big-time attorney and very upset with the way Mamdani talks about and treats the Italian community here in New York. We'll come back.
Sid and Friends in the morning on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
The ridiculous enclave map that the mayor put out a couple of weeks ago. But it turns out that Gerard, making his debut on this program, was actually at the Lindsey Graham funeral a couple of days ago and was there with President Trump. I don't know the relationship between Gerard and President Trump, so I'm curious to hear this. Gerard, good morning, buddy. How are you?
I'm doing very well, Sid. Nice to talk to you. We have a lot of nice friends in common. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, we do. I love our friends we have in common. I love them a lot. And, you know, I didn't know that you were at this Lindsey Graham funeral. I think one of them may have said to me that you know the president or you're friendly. So what is that relationship between you and President Trump?
I'm an admirer of President Trump. He's, of course, a Queens native like I am. I grew up in Ridgewood, Queens. And I got to tell you, from Italian-American perspective, I look at Trump when he was attacked by the government. You know, they chose the man and then they created the crime. And they've been doing that to Italian-Americans for about 100 years. Our biggest enemy is the criminal justice system in Hollywood.
I think you're right about that. And they never talk about the Italians. They talk about, obviously, my people, the Jews, and that's deserved. African-Americans, been through a lot. But they just seem to sweep the Italians aside. You guys have been the victims, like you said, of judicial wrongs and, massacres and all of that. And then you get this idiotic mayor, idiotic's not even the right word, this hateful scumbag that decides he's going to redraw these immigration enclave maps. And he leaves off not one, but two little Italies. I think people forget we have two of them. We've got one in Lower Manhattan, right down by Mulberry and Mott, and we got another one on Arthur Avenue in the Bronx. And this lowlife hater left them both off. I know, Mr. Marone, that pissed you off, yes?
It pissed me off, and it pissed off a lot of people. Let me give you a little context. So we brought, about 4 years ago, myself and a few colleagues brought back the original Italian-American Civil Rights League, the original Joe Colombo organization from the 1970s.
Oh, wait a second. So I didn't even know this. So the IACRL, you're heavily involved with this?
I'm the vice president.
Oh, God bless you.
I'm the vice president.
God bless you. Go ahead.
Yes. So a couple of years back, I was looking for a vehicle for basically to protect Italians because I saw so much injustice. As a criminal defense attorney, I see it daily. I was doing a sentencing for one of my clients, and this is how it all started. And I said, I have to look for something. And that's when we brought it back. Doing a sentencing in Brooklyn Federal Court. And I'm telling the judge, my client's been gainfully employed from the moment he left high school for the last 20 years. The judge says to me, Mr. Maroney, I bet you there's a no-show job in there somewhere.
Oh, my God. He actually said that in court?
Yeah, and I tell you, I was shocked, and I had no words. And you got to watch yourself with a federal judge. But then, it hit me, and I got to do something. And I found the Italian American Civil Rights League. It was a small little group. It was Roger Stone was involved, Mike Christie was involved, and I joined them. And then we brought it to New York, and now we have chapters all over the East Coast. And actually, Anthony Colombo, who is Joseph Colombo's grandson, is an attorney in California. He's our chairman. So we have really a lot of the original members or family members, and a lot of the original members from the 70s are still our members today.
That is fantastic. I had no idea. Yeah. I like that. That's important. Yes. I'm very good friends with.
So Mandami pissed off a lot of people.
No, I know. I'm very good friends with Angelo Vivolo, and he's in charge of the Columbus Day Parade, and he runs the Italian American League. I know you know he is. He's a wonderful, wonderful guy. Piscopo and all those guys. And I was in Central Park years and years ago with Arthur Aidala and Bo Dietl and Piscopo and all these guys trying to make sure they didn't mess with the Christopher Columbus statue. And that not only did he leave all those communities off the map, but at one point this mayor, Mr. Maroney, actually walked by the Columbus statue and gave it the finger. Who does that?
He did. Yeah, he did. And we saw that about a year ago before he was elected, and we organized we must have had about 300-400 members, and we knocked on his door. And we were in front of his office in Astoria, Queens, protesting in the street, letting him know that we didn't appreciate that and we didn't like that. Unfortunately, the majority of New Yorkers decided to vote him in as mayor, so we're stuck with him. We're stuck with him for now.
For now, right. There's a lot that can happen in 3 years. So hopefully something happens and maybe somebody pops up that is worthy of winning the next election. And this guy's going to be gone because, again, as you know, Gerard, it's not just the Italians. It's everybody. He left the Irish off that map. He left the Germans. He left the Greeks. No Astoria, Queens.
He left off. This is what I was thinking when I saw the map. And I said, I grew up in Queens. Okay, I'm a New Yorker. A lot of these people that are not even that are on that map, they're not New Yorkers. They're not native New Yorkers, right? So if you grew up in New York, you know that the Greeks are from Astoria. You know that the Jews are from Forest Hills. You know the Puerto Ricans are from Bushwick. That's New York. That's the kind of leadership we need. And if we don't have leadership in the mayor's office that does not unite us, Sid, we're in big trouble. So if our leadership is not uniting us, we have a big problem. And that's really my message for Italian Americans to unite. And I always say, you mess with one of us, you mess with all of us.
I love that.
There's a lot of us now, and we got to stick together. And it's not only Italian Americans, because throughout history, the Italians have been close to the Jews, the Puerto Ricans, the Irish, the Greeks. We work with everybody. We respect everybody. But unfortunately, we have leadership in our city that is purposely dividing us, in my opinion.
No, I agree. There's no question. This is the big-time attorney, Gerard Maroney, who just got back from the Lindsey Graham funeral. He was there with President Trump. I had lunch with our mutual friends a couple of weeks ago, and I'll be honest, Gerard, I complained about the Italian community. I said, let me ask you something, guys. When I was a kid going to Poly Prep in Dyker Heights, Bay Ridge was mostly Italian. My friends are still there. And yet when they have these pro-Hamas marches in Bay Ridge, I see 6,000 of these people marching. Bensonhurst, that's basically gone. Howard Beach, they're stealing statues off the lawns. Ozone Park, all these communities that were rich Italian communities, a lot of Muslims are moving in. A lot of other folks are moving in. And maybe it was like that. No, it wasn't. What the hell's going on the last couple of decades?
And that's really the problem. We as a community, we don't unite, and our opposition unites. And that's the problem. And if we don't start getting together and sticking together, we're going to have a major problem. I mean, the mayor's office it hates Italians. I have to say it. He just hates Italian Americans. He might not come out and say it, but it's certainly like that in his actions. But not only Italians. He doesn't like the Jews. He doesn't like the Irish. He doesn't like the Greeks. It's clear. And we have to unite, and we have to do something about it. We got to get somebody better in there. We have to get somebody that's going to represent all New Yorkers.
100%. So tomorrow you've got a big event, I think, in Little Italy. And my dear friend who I spent the whole day campaigning with 2 days ago, Bruce Blakeman, will make an appearance. Gerard, tell me about that day tomorrow.
Yes. So tomorrow is a little bit of a victory for us. So we're going to be in front of Cafe Palermo in the Italian-American Museum on Mulberry Street from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. Bruce is coming down about 6:30. He's going to say some words for us. He's very excited to support Italian Americans. Italian Americans as a community support Bruce. I'm going to have the pleasure to meet him for the first time tomorrow, and he's going to speak at our victory rally. We have a lot of Italians coming down to show support and to just speak in the street and really show our unity and say, look, we're here. We appreciate that the mayor's office recognize us. I didn't see the map change, to be honest with you. Not only should he add Italians, he should add Puerto Ricans, Jews, Greeks, Irish. There's a lot of people that he left off, and it's the wrong thing. But at least tomorrow was a little bit of a victory, and we're going to savor that tomorrow on Mulberry Street in Little Italy.
I grew up on Quentin Road in Brooklyn, and my next-door neighbor, a guy named Joseph Iovine, was the Italian that every kid my age loved. Great-looking guy and really great-looking. Had a Pontiac Firebird, and his parents were, his father was a big-time Italian attorney. He went to New Corners like 5 nights a week. You know what I'm talking about. And Joseph used to take me out. I was a 80-pound, asthmatic, skinny, geeky Jewish kid, and he had all the pretty girls, and I just wanted to be Italian my whole life. I swear to God. And then I saw Saturday Night Fever. I'm like, oh, come on. I want to be Tony Manero. I used to yell at my parents.
To be Italian.
Yeah,
yes.
I used to yell at my parents. I go, Mommy, Daddy, how can you do this to me? Sidney Ferris Rosenberg, you're killing me. And really that stuck with me until October 7th. And since then I've been an animal Jew. But I've always loved the Italian people, the contributions you guys have made to this city. I mean, damn it, you found this damn country. Enough with this nonsense. You found the country. You make amazing contributions to this city, whether it's culture, music, or the food. Italian food I could eat 7 nights a week. So when you say this victory party tomorrow in Little Italy, what exact victory are you celebrating?
Well, the fact that this mayor recognized that he made a mistake. I mean, he blamed it on the prior administration, which I don't believe is true. I think it's an excuse. But it's a victory where at least he conceded the fact that, yes, he's going to put the Italians on the map. So we deserve to be on the map. We made the map. And that's the victory. Finally, listen, we reached out to him and social media. And I always say the pen is mightier than the sword. And we reached out on social media and we went viral. And within 24 to 48 hours, he had a press conference and he said, look, the map is wrong. It's not inclusive of everyone, and we're going to add Italian Americans to the map. And that for us was a major victory because in the past, us as Italian Americans, we're not united. And finally, we're under one flag. Unfortunately, Italians, a lot of times there's jealousy and envy, just like other ethnic groups. But that's starting to come to an end because now people are seeing that there's really an enemy that we have against us. And if we don't preserve our culture, our way of life, family, our values, then you know what? In a generation or two, we're gone. We're going to disappear. So now is the time really to get together, stay strong, unite, come out to Little Italy tomorrow, meet Bruce, meet all of our supporters, and just celebrate. Have some good food. See Baby John at Cafe Palermo, go in front of the museum, and just remember, you got to remember, everyone that's in this country today, an ancestor, some courageous person came from the other side, came from Europe, right, with nothing in their pocket. And and that's what binds all of us, is that courage, that one of our ancestors came here, that entrepreneurial spirit, that fearless spirit. And that's who we are.
Yep.
That's the immigration. It's the hardworking immigrant, the person that came here with nothing but a dream and busted their butt and raised a family and did well. And that's what binds all of us. Everyone in this country, everyone in the city of New York has that common thread, has that common denominator. And we can't forget that. And we can't forget that person that came from Italy to give us a better life.
Well, you just said it perfectly. His vile, wretched wife, one of my favorite songs ever is Mala Femina. His wife is exactly that evil woman. I got to tell you, Gerard, I loved having you on. I look forward to meeting you. And I would be there tomorrow, but I'm taking my daughter to college in Pennsylvania. But I will meet you and bring you back on the show all the time. Excellent job this morning.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
It.
God bless you.
Looking forward to it.
All
Thank
right,
you. You
buddy.
too.
Take care. That is attorney Gerard Maroney making his debut, and he was terrific right here on Sid and Friends in the Morning.
Sid and Friends in the Morning on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
While Rand Paul, well, I'm not a huge fan of, I'm not afraid to say it, I did think he did a tremendous job yesterday, tremendous, out of Kentucky. The guy that I really love, you guys know this, he's on the show all the time, is Wisconsin Senator Ron Johnson. He did a tremendous job yesterday as well, tremendous. He's been all over the issues with the vaccines. And ever since President Trump got shot in Butler, Pennsylvania, on that day, I was in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I was there already for the RNC. And I started the relationship with Ron Johnson, and I got to tell you, he's one of the best people we've got serving. So let me start with this, Ron Johnson. Heck of a job yesterday. Didn't get what we wanted, obviously, but heck of a job yesterday.
Well, good morning, City. Well, you're making me blush. But no, listen, I agree. I think Chairman Paul did a great job. I told people in the hearing, I hope every American listens to his opening statement because it just is devastating towards Fauci. I mean, we've known this. We have. I mean, ever since the emails emerged really about those phone calls in late January, early February, it was obvious that Anthony Fauci was covering up his funding of gain-of-function research that probably caused produced the coronavirus and caused the pandemic. So Rand laid that out great. I mean, I think Hawley devastated him, talking about the fact that Anthony Fauci used government employees, his devices, the government's property, to solicit awards over $1 million while millions of people were dying from his coronavirus and his gene therapy injections. So again, I know people want him to go to jail. He's 85 years old. That's probably not going to happen. But the first step of accountability and a major step is exposing the truth. And for a megalomaniacal narcissist like Anthony Fauci being exposed and being humiliated the way he had to be humiliated yesterday is probably the worst punishment you could really mete out to him.
I agree with you, but there was no accountability because he elected to plead the fifth 111 times. If I'm innocent and I didn't do all these things that you guys are accusing me of in my diary, wherever else, I'm yelling and screaming. Now, I know you run the risk of perjury and going to jail at the age of 85. You don't want to do that, but I would run that risk. If I'm innocent, if I didn't do anything wrong, I'd be yelling and screaming. So to me, yes, you guys held him accountable yesterday, but he had an opportunity to become accountable himself and at the same time kind of erase a lot of all these theories out there, which of course are true, and he didn't do it. What does that tell you?
I think Josh Hawley had a great line. He said, nothing says innocent like pleading the fifth.
Right.
But, he was, Fauci was between a rock and a hard place because if he told the truth, he would further incriminate himself. He would just display to the American public really how awful he truly is. So he had to remain silent because if he told the truth, if he actually didn't tell the truth, then he's going to set him up for more legal jeopardy in terms of perjuring himself. So he really couldn't tell the truth. He really could not tell the truth.
Right.
So he did what his lawyers told him, which was plead the fifth. And again, I thought we did, all of us, because we organized our efforts. We each had our each lane. We had different types of questions, so we weren't asking the same thing over and over again, which happens sometimes in these hearings. So everybody picked up a different theme, whether it was the awards. Rand really centered on just the lies about his funding of the gain-of-function research. Rick Scott did David Morin's, one of his aides that destroyed records, and again just did a really good job of exposing all of it. And there's no defense. So he just laid out all the evidence, and anybody with an unbiased eye would walk away going, this is a really bad person.
You did a great job, too, with the chart. You had the chart there with all the different medications, even Tylenol. That was yours. And I love what you did, too. And you're right. You guys all presented different cases. The thing with him was, not only did he provide the gain-of-function research, Not only did he lie time and time again, kept talking about it, jump from an animal to a human. He knew that it was created in a lab. He knew that the whole time. So he lied about all that. But then when you look at what he did afterwards, Ron Johnson, again, he was so excited that Bill de Blasio, the worst mayor in the history of this country, till Mamdani came along, okay? But the worst mayor ever. He was so excited that de Blasio was paying attention to him and listening to him when he told him to create a whole generation of morons because he kept our kids home. He was so excited about that, right? And then the vaccines. So as if it wasn't bad enough that he lied about the COVID-19 origins, what he did afterwards, Ron Johnson, was every bit as bad.
He was absolutely drunk with power. And he used that power to destroy people's lives, destroy the economy. You know, one of the most telling things is not getting much coverage. In his diary, he basically admits that it's probably going to be, no worse than double a bad flu season, which is bad. I mean, I'm not going to downplay that. I mean, if you're elderly, you had to be concerned about COVID. But then publicly, he was talking about case fatality rates 10 times worse than a bad flu season. So just like AIDS. Remember when he overhyped that? And I said that early in the pandemic. I got just, creamed by the media for, Fauci didn't overhype AIDS. Yes, he did. Remember, he said, you got to be careful about household transmission. No, he didn't have to worry about that. So he scared the you-know-what out of people about AIDS, which, again, is a serious disease, but it's not airborne. You're not going to catch it in your household. Okay, he did the exact same thing with COVID, and as a result, got all this power, shut down the economy, destroyed people's lives, destroyed their businesses, then pushed what he always wanted. He said this in a Milken Institute event panel with Rick Bright. They were bemoaning the fact that we don't have a universal vaccination campaign. The flu season just isn't forcing everybody to take a vaccine. We need a pandemic. Well, by God, 2 months, 3 months later, he got his pandemic, and he sabotaged early treatment, whether it's hydroxychloroquine, whether it's ivermectin. And by the way, in his diary, he talks about that as well. So, well, hydroxychloroquine, it's an approved drug. Yeah, there's some issues with safety signals, but we understand hydroxychloroquine. We need to be careful with remdesivir. And then they push, 2 months later, he's pushing remdesivir, which nurses, by the way, called run, death is near.
Aye, aye.
Okay, there's so many things. I could have, and by the way, hopefully we will be questioning him for hours and hours. I've invited him. If he doesn't come, I'll subpoena him. And even if he comes in and takes the fifth, he'll sit there for hour after hour, and we will lay out the case. We will document it in transcribed interview, and we'll lay out all of this evidence. Not just in the 3-hour hearing, where it's not as well organized as a transcribed interview, and then we'll write a report, and then history will be able to judge Anthony Fauci.
Ron Johnson, the amazing senator from Wisconsin, I took 2 booster shots. I had no choice. I'm sorry. I know people say, yes, you did. We all had choices. I lived in Manhattan. I worked in Manhattan. I couldn't go to a restaurant. I couldn't fly to Miami to go see my mother. I couldn't go to a ball game. So I really had no choice. I wanted to live. I don't want to sit at home every single day and cooped up. So I got it. And I got that stupid card like the Nazis handed out back in the 1930s. And it made me nauseous. Just going there to get it, holding the card. I hated every second of it. But I decided I wanted to live in Manhattan, not just stay inside my apartment all day long, okay? But I do respect the people that didn't. But now we come to find that the vaccines over the years have caused some very serious health problems. And you, Ron Johnson, you've been at the very forefront of that in Congress, talking about it for the last year. Where are we in that endeavor?
Well, I held a hearing, the plausible mechanisms for these COVID injections to cause cancer. It's very unfortunate. It's continued to be covered up. The Dr. Wafik Eldiri, director of oncology at Brown University, they're destroying his career just for publishing, the case studies of 300 where he shows a plausible mechanism. So again, we're still in a society-wide and global state of denial on these things. But to provide people comfort, about 80% of adverse events occur with about 5% of the lots. So I personally think they were hot lots. I don't think there was good control over the manufacturing of this. I'm a manufacturer. You see something that out of control. So I think a lot of these shots that were given just didn't have all that much mRNA activated. Remember, you had to freeze these things down to 90 degrees below zero.
Yep.
Do you really think Walgreens and CVS were keeping them that cold before they injected? So I mean, that's kind of maybe a blessing. They didn't control this very well, so you maybe didn't have as much mRNA in some of these injections, and maybe there's an over amount in some of them. So, again, that's kind of what I hope, because, listen, I know people who got the shot. I've got family members who got the shot. Again, you were coerced. If you weren't mandated, you were coerced into it or convinced by their lies. So I feel really bad. Fortunately, I talked to Michael Eden. There was no way I was going to get that experimental gene therapy. I tried to tell everybody I knew. I couldn't do it publicly because I'm not a doctor. I'm not a medical researcher, but that's why I was following theirs, unlike the people who were in charge of our safety surveillance system. We're starting to interview these people. It looks like they didn't even pay attention to it.
No.
What they saw, they just denied. Yeah. And their whole motivation here was not to create vaccine hesitancy. Bury these safety signals so that Biden could issue his mandate. They could get it approved. They could mandate it to the finest among us, our military, and then discharge the people who refuse to take it. So, no, I mean, we have to have a COVID reckoning. We have to remember what they did to us.
Yeah.
So it never happens again.
So well said, Ron. And you're right. They coerced people and they intimidated people and they fired people and made people miserable. So you are doing some really amazing work here. I have to say you're doing just amazing work.
Sid and Friends in the morning on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
So I think everybody was captivated yesterday with that circus that took place on the Hill, despite Rand Paul's best efforts. I don't like Rand Paul. I've said it over and over again. I think he's basically a Trump traitor. But yesterday, in the Anthony Fauci hearing, he was nothing short of brilliant. Prepared, knew what he was talking about, and nailed Fauci to the wall. But we all know what happened, watching for hours, and Anthony Fauci over 100 times. Listen to me carefully. I know you heard this a bunch already this morning. Over 100 times took the fifth. Why? Because he had nothing to say. Because it is clear, based upon what he wrote in his diary, that he's a liar, he's a fraud. You can make an argument he's a murderer, right? I mean, people died. He turned a whole generation of our kids into morons. I'll say it. A lot of our kids are morons. And it was all worth it because people like Gavin Newsom and Bill de Blasio and Barbara Streisand and Mila Kunis all loved him. He was a popular guy. He goes from famous to infamous, and now, as Ted Cruz pointed out, I played this earlier, maybe public enemy number one, maybe forever, here in the United States. What a disaster yesterday was. Let's talk to my guy. Follows me each and every weekday morning right here on 77 WABC at 10 a.m. Does an amazing job on Fox and Friends every morning and has his own great show. I love it. One Nation, 10 p.m. Sunday nights. Brian Kilmeade. Brian, with the attorney getting kicked out and all the, I'm not talking Fifth Amendment stuff, yesterday, unfortunately, turned out to be a circus.
Yeah, I mean, what did I learn from that? What I learned is he got $1 million prize. He made 9 separate people apply for these awards during the pandemic. What did we learn from that? The whole 1,100 pages is his diary. Sid, to be on the air doing what we're doing, to be president of the United States, you got to have a healthy ego and self-confidence. There's nothing wrong with that. You know, if there was a profile on Sid Rosenberg at Time Magazine, if you were keeping a diary, I'm not sure you are. You might have a full-time biographer who lives with you, who's going to eventually release a documentary along with it. But, you know, you might say, hey, it's kind of cool to be on the cover of Time Magazine. This guy was obsessed with himself. He was obsessed with celebrity like a teenage girl. Julia Roberts likes me. Barbara Streisand, I taught her how to use an Alexa. Brad Pitt played me on television. Meanwhile, we have the worst mortality rate, pound for pound, in the world. People are dying. And I went crazy on this, Sid. I don't know how often I was on with you back then, but I was saying, did he just say wear a mask, not wear a mask? Did he just say if you have a vaccine, don't wear a mask? Did he just say if you have a vaccine, you can't get an infection? Did he just say 6 feet apart or else being irresponsible? Did he just deny that he said 6 feet apart had anything to do with it? Did he say shut down the schools? Don't have Christmas, don't have Hanukkah? No, he never said that. And then he said, I never said 6 feet apart. We have everything. He contradicted himself. We have it on tape. And then knowing that he wrote down the truth, it wasn't a mistake. week. He didn't give a bad interview or say something say something he regrets. He wrote down the truth, and it all starts with the origins of the virus. If we know where it started, we knew how to stop it. But he wouldn't let us know where it started. And then he sat there and tried to undermine Trump on a regular basis, leaked out things about what was going on behind the scenes. In the middle of an election, it made Donald Trump seem like he wasn't in control. And then we have Joe Biden, an adult in the room. By it all said and done, with the vaccine, more people died under Joe Biden and Anthony Fauci than died under Trump when we didn't even know what hit us and what was about to swamp us. And even the ventilators were killing people. So he bragged about telling de Blasio, I convinced him to shut down the city. And I think about how much damage that he did, how many relationships kids don't have today, how many friendships that don't exist. I know 4 or 5 people that had to leave college sports. I'm not talking about they were going pro, but you love it when you're playing it. And then they said, get a vaccine or quit. And even my nephew, they said he last's going to his senior year of soccer, about to get a degree from a military academy. They said, get a vaccine. He said no. They said, you are gone. So he had to go wait tables, apply to a Florida college, and then go and lose 60 credits and take another year and a half of school because Anthony Fauci made crap up. I'm not saying the vaccine wasn't effective for some, but it wasn't necessary for healthy people, and it certainly wasn't necessary for toddlers, and he is still being worshipped like idiots from Andy Kim of New Jersey. I just want to thank you for all you did for the country. How dare you say that?
That was grotesque. Andy Kim, though, is a complete jerk-off. I'm going to say it. You can't say that on Fox. I can. As we know, I say whatever I want on Fox. But
I know nothing about him.
Right? I'm sure you don't. But, you mentioned people who lost their jobs. And, I get a kick out of watching Eric Adams these days. I know you liked him, and I'm here to remind you every day that for 3/4 of his stay as mayor, he was terrible. Not bad, terrible. The city was a mess. Pro-Hamas running everywhere. Veterans on park benches. Homeless on park benches. Illegals in 5-star hotels. Crime out of control. 4 different police commissioners. Corrupt police department. And his whole administration basically should have gone to prison. It was a mess. Only because he had Bill de Blasio before him, and he's got this animal since, does he come off looking good. But you know that Eric Adams let go of a lot of city workers, very brave city workers, while he allowed people like Kyrie Irving and Aaron Judge to play sports. They never got their jobs back. They begged Adams till the day he left. They never got their jobs back. You know that, right?
No, I did not know that. And it seems like ancient history. But the one thing I'd say about Eric Adams? He was a politician. And you can disagree and not disagree. I don't want to set you off, but I don't know what this mayor is. He's not a politician.
No, he's an animal.
He's got an agenda.
Yeah, no, he's
so I'm used to saying lazy, good, right? Very conservative, very liberal, but I don't know what this guy is.
No, exactly,
this current mayor is. So I had Eric Adams on Will Cain show. I substituted this week, Monday and Tuesday. So I think he was on Monday or Tuesday, one of those days, and I'm able to talk to him. I have no interest in talking to the head of the Socialist Society, the DSA. I have no interest in talking to this candidate over in Wisconsin that's a avowed socialist that I was about to get the Democratic nomination, or El Said, who pretends not to be but is over in Michigan. And this guy who's looking for reparations, he's looking to tax the rich, he's looking for to drive people like John Catsimatidis out of business by having government subsidize food stores, whatever that's going to turn out to be. It's going to be, I think, an empty warehouse full of expired food. But I'll take Eric Adams and controversial decisions any day over this guy.
Yeah, but that's not the barometer for something good. You're right. So would I. In fact, I'm hoping that Eric Adams can help Bruce Blakeman and maybe with the African-American community and help us in that respect. But saying that you take him over this guy, that's not a barometer. It's the same thing with Bill de Blasio. Take him over Bill de Blasio, that's not a barometer. I want you to be able to compare Eric Adams to Giuliani or Bloomberg. That's a good mayor, not saying, oh, he's better than Bill, he's better than Mamdani. So what? And the latest Mamdani, I guess, controversy is a couple of days ago. By the way, I saw your interview on the Will Cain show with Eric Adams. It was excellent. It was excellent. But a couple of days ago, I had a guy on my show named Giovanni Galante. Giovanni's wife, at the age of 29, was murdered in the South Tower on 9/11. And this man started the petition to keep Mamdani away from that sacred soil as we get set to commemorate 25 years this September. Now, just so you know, Brian, right after we celebrated July 4th, I shifted my focus on this show to 9/11. I have played a 9/11 clip every single day since July the 6th, every single day. So this guy obviously tugged at my heart. I put him on the show a couple days ago. When he came on, there was about 15,000 signatures. Now there's close to 50,000 signatures. I agree that this mayor has no right. A mayor that's friendly with Hassan Piker, who said America deserved 9/11. A mayor that helped Chevalier win a primary. She said America deserved 9/11. A mayor taking smiling selfies in the street with a cleric who was a co-conspirator in the 1993 World Trade Center bombing. He has no right being there, and the families don't want him there. They all won't say it because they're afraid of political repercussions, but they don't want him there. Even President Trump mentioned it yesterday. So I want this guy as far away as possible. I think he's still going to be there, but I don't want him there. How do you feel?
I would love for him not to go. I mean, he doesn't show up when the cardinal gets changed, first time in history, over at St. Patrick's Cathedral. Doesn't show up at the Puerto Rican Day Parade. Doesn't show up at the Israeli Day Parade. He goes in primaries, a Hispanic leader who, Espeleta, know nothing about him except for on the Democratic side. So he goes after every ethnic group. And then he goes after rich, some most successful New Yorkers on a regular basis, and now this next tax. So on 9/11, when he won't even condemn the words globalize the infantata, if he's not going to condemn those words, what makes you think that he legitimately condemns the attack? So why was he going to make a stand and show up at this event when he doesn't really show up at any other events except for, inviting that Khalid guy from Colombia over to celebrate a Muslim holiday over at Gracie Mansion? I'd love for him not to show up, but I think he will. So I for a couple of things, I also see that on the cover of the New York Post today, that one of the stars of Everyone Loves Raymond, she has come out and says she is asking him not to show up. So you're going to see we're going to see a lot of other people who are going to just say Patricia Heaton, who are going to say stay away. But I just don't want him to be the story. My worry is when he shows up, he's going to be the story. When he doesn't show up, he's going to be the story. When it should be about Frank Siller, and it should be about those people that lost loved ones and everything that's happened since.
Yeah, really, Steven Siller, Frank's brother, who died in very heroic fashion that day. You're exactly right. And that's what Peter King said on this show yesterday. Let's not make it about this creep, this mayor. So either way, one way or the other, we got to get through this petition and this outcry from the city to stay away and then focus on what's really important. I mentioned President Trump, Brian Kilmeade, and there he was yesterday talking about this 9/11 controversy with Mamdani. A couple of days ago, Lindsey Graham's funeral, had the chance to meet with both Bibi Netanyahu. Good meeting. I know he was upset that Bibi told everybody that I told you about Pickaxe Mountain, and Trump denied that, but he did. Then he met with Zelensky, so a pretty big week for President Trump in terms of meeting with the two guys, really only the two conflicts that are left out there because President Trump has pretty much resolved everything else.
It's what a consequential week. I mean, we get the Russian sanctions. I'm big into Ukraine. I'm in awe that now they're giving us more technology. They're giving us anti-drone defense. They are able to form 500 defense contracting companies within the middle of a war. And now they're saying to America, if you give us a license to make Patriots, for every 100 we make, we'll give you back 20. Because we're making 600 a year. They can make 600 in 3 weeks. I mean, what Ukraine has done, they have become the ally that we wanted NATO to become. They're saying, let me tell you, here's the technology that Russia's using to relay to Iran. I'm in awe of Zelensky, all these people on the right that said he was a criminal and he's getting rich off this war and that Russia was right. They had no choice. Please know how stupid you are. And please understand that in the end, they will be writing about this era. Ukraine will be our premier ally who does substantial things for, not even lip service, substantial things for us. And I just think the President of the United States, when it comes to this war in Iran, no more of these, I'm going to hit you back. just take them out or we'll leave. This does not work. We have 4 or 5 plans that are on the table, and the president, I talked to people that have looked at it, they say they're excellent, that could really bring them to their knees and damage them legitimately. IRGC will be the target. We can't keep dancing on the edges, because the longer it lasts, the stronger Iran, even though they're getting weaker, the stronger they look, and the closer it gets to the midterms. And the president will pay the price for no reason, for confronting an enemy that other presidents decided was too hard to do. This president says, nobody's going to do it after me. I'm going to take it on. So, Mr. President, go call the IDF in, finish these guys off. And guess who also wants to fight? Saudi Arabia and Kuwait and UAE. Arm up, ready to go. Saudis are flying. Let's just do it. It'll be worse before it gets better. But if we start today, we'll be done with this by the second week in August, but not what we're doing now.
Couldn't agree more. I said the same thing on my controversial Fox News TV appearance on Saturday, and I've been getting hammered the last 5 days by Glenn Greenwald and Alex Jones and Joe Kent, General Michael Flynn. Yeah, what an honor. These losers that are really traitors at this point that are taking Trump to task for doing what he's doing. And you know, Brian, I am in lockstep with you. I've been saying for months, what you just said just now, quite frankly, and I love him to death, President Trump should have done over 2 months ago. It's enough already. Last one, Brian Kilmeade. I'm taking my daughter today to the University of Pennsylvania. She's starting UPenn Law School on Monday. Very exciting. She finished her undergraduate work at UK, of course, at Cardiff University in Wales. But my daughter grew up a big-time tennis player in Boca Raton. You've got kids, big-time soccer players and athletes. So, Brian Kilmeade, to you, is Sophie Cunningham a hero?
Absolutely. Unbelievable. The bodyguard for Caitlin Clark, who is a fantastic player. By the way, a fantastic singer. Have you heard her sing?
Yes.
So now she's got a shoe out, a sneaker out that's sold out. And then she doubles and triples down and says, oh, by the way, the common sense. Men shouldn't be in women's locker rooms and trans men should not be in women's sports. And the Seattle owner of the WNBA franchise saw 2 fans of Sophie Cunningham who were wearing the XXXY shirt, which is symbolic for the same thing. And they said, basically you disgust me. And this was overheard. And now she's been suspended. But imagine going to a WNBA game to support Sophie Cunningham wearing a shirt and then being told by the owner of the other team, you disgust me. So that's Seattle, though, by the way. That's Seattle, but how irresponsible. And these people just keep playing into it. She becomes a bigger and bigger star.
Couldn't agree more. I love it, too. And I love Caitlin Clark. And the league is racist. That's the bottom line. All these black girls are beating up on Caitlin Clark, and it took a white girl and Sophie Cunningham to come to the rescue. Okay, 3 days away from the big show, the big one coming up on Sunday night, my favorite cable show, One Nation on Fox News. What are we looking at, Brian?
Well, first off, I got to tell you, October 17th in Westbury Music Fair. Do not forget BrianKilmeade.com. Sid will be there. I'm going to salute America in a fun, entertaining way. So it's going to be streamed on Fox Nation, but I want to meet you in person. Sunday, Jim Jordan's going to be with us. Jimmy Fail is going to be there. Douglas Brinkley. And what exactly is communism? Is this the root from socialism? Why should we not blow up the Senate? Why should we not blow up the Supreme Court and the Defense Department? Douglas Brinkley brings us back into the creation of the Constitution and why this cannot stand. I'm all for making the country better, but that will be destroying the country. But I want a historian's perspective. And then we're going to find out how to lead the Green Beret way with Lieutenant Colonel Schaefer. So he's Green Beret. We got a couple of slots to fill. We're still looking at a few people, but it's going to be a big show Sunday at 10 p.m.
Brian, you're the absolute best. Whether you're doing the radio show after me every day, your morning slot on Fox and Friends, your own amazing show, One Nation. You're a great talent, and I tell everybody this, an even better guy. I do love you. And I will stay within myself. I'll be quiet this weekend. I'll be spending 3 days with my wife and my daughter in Pennsylvania, so not a lot of fanfare after what I went through on Saturday the last 3 or 4 days with millions and millions of hits. I was trending number 3 on Twitter on Saturday night across the world that actually said Sid Rosenberg, United States. So I had trouble staying within myself over the weekend, but this weekend, completely different story.
But see, if you know staying within yourself, that is within yourself. That's what Sid does. If you were calm over the weekend, that's not what Sid does. So it's like if you score goals Don't tell me don't become a setup man. Sid, you score goals. That's it. You got to be yourself. All right? Thanks a lot, Sid. Go get him. Finish up strong.
Thank you, buddy. That's the great Brian Kilmeade. Follows me each and every weekday morning right here at 10. Fox and Friends and 10 p.m. Sunday nights. One Nation Fox News. Great, great show. Trust me. Make sure you watch it. We'll take a short break. Still lots more. Joseph Tacopina, Bill O'Reilly, and Clay Travis. All that and more still to come. Thursday edition. Sid and Friends in the morning.
Sid and Friends in the morning on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Three great guests still to come. Coming up, Joseph Tacopina, Bill O'Reilly, and Clay Travis. I'm watching Riley Gaines on Fox News right now talking to Ainsley about Sophie Cunningham and how the Seattle Storm co-owner has been suspended and fined for allegedly cursing out these young Sophie Cunningham fans. Sophie's out there every day trying to protect female athletes like Riley Gaines does. So shame on the co-owner of the Seattle Storm, that moron. And her name is Ginny Gilder. And congratulations to Sophie Cunningham. We'll talk to Clay Travis later. One quick note before Tacopina. I think I told you guys this. Our charity that Danielle and I started, inspired by our son Gabriel, who was diagnosed with dyspraxia as a little boy. Dyspraxia, DCDamerica.org. Dyspraxia, DCDamerica.org. Kicked off this charity years ago. COVID kind of put a real stop to it. But now it's up and running, and Danielle's doing amazing work. Holds these big seminars at Bob Gluck, Hofstra University. Thank you so much. Other places around the world. I think we're set to go to Cardiff in England sometime in the fall. And really making a difference for what are millions and millions of people who have dyspraxia. So I went to Randy Levine, my friend who's the president of the New York Yankees, and I said, my buddy Vinny Viola down in Florida held a big night during a Florida-Seattle, ironically, hockey game 2 years ago. He held dyspraxia night in Florida. And he invited me and Danielle and Gabriel and Ava and all these people down. And we raised a lot of money. Vinny Viola wrote us a very big check, the Florida Panther organization. They had a 50-50 raffle that night. They gave us half the money. We walked out with a very big check. I said, Randy, the Yankees, this is perfect. He said, Sid, you got it. And Randy Levine is a man of his word. He's a great guy, super guy. So coming up on October the 22nd, when the Yankees host Toronto, Yankees Blue Jays in the Bronx, we are auctioning off tickets, and the money goes to the charity. Now, there's only 22 tickets available. It'll be inside a suite, one of Randy's suites at Yankee Stadium. The minimum bid is $500, but that's for 2 tickets. All right, so you got a pair of tickets for $500. The money goes to the charity. Only 22 tickets available. And if you want to go and raise money for a terrific cause, my son Gabriel, of course, still has it. Will Forever. And millions of other kids around the world and adults have it too. You call right now, 1-800-890-9088. That's 800-890-9088. You place your bid. Again, we start at $500 for 2 tickets, August 22nd, when the Yankees take on the Toronto Blue Jays. And let me thank all of you people in advance for helping Danielle and I with this very, very worthy cause. It's becoming more and more popular. When I say popular, I mean people know more and more about it because of the hard work Danielle has done, and Gabe is beloved, of course, all across New York. So we wake up every day trying to figure out how to help these people, and this is going to be a great day at Yankee Stadium. We'll take a break. When we get back, he's been a friend of mine for 48 years, the best defense attorney anywhere in the world, the great Joseph Tacopina.
Sid and Friends in the morning on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Elizabeth Borsman.
I mean, we have this committee, the Mayor's Advisory Committee on the Judiciary, right? We know mayors appoint judges to criminal court, family court. I mean, the mayor of New York, it's a powerful position. And every mayor since Mayor Koch has had this committee that recommends and evaluates judges for the criminal courts and the family courts, which we have vacancies on. And, the mayors always listen to the chief judge. They listen to other judges. They take their recommendations. And here we have the committee. It's got 18 members plus the chair, not a single Jew.
They all love this guy, Leventhal. And the mayor's excuse this morning, we did play. In fact, let me play it now. I know Tacopina's waiting, but let's play the mayor's excuse why Leventhal was rejected. Again, the mayor never rejects these people, never does. But he found a way to reject this guy. Here was his excuse. Lewis, it's cut number 12.
We decided not to move forward with his appointment because of the fact that he served on Ghislaine Maxwell's legal defense team.
Wait a second. Even Ghislaine Maxwell in this country gets somebody to defend her, right? That's our judicial system, okay? Even the worst of the worst, right? That's why they have defense lawyers. It's not his. It's not up to him to decide what's okay, what's not. And we don't believe him anyway. Leventhal is Jewish. That's why he did not get in. Joe Tacopina's Italian. But I think he was bar mitzvahed. It's kind of odd. I don't know. Here he is, the great defense attorney, my friend of 48 years, Joseph Tacopina. Is there any doubt in your mind, Joseph, that the mayor jumped in, which he never does in these cases, ever, and vetoed the Leventhal pick because Leventhal is Jewish?
Zero doubt, Sid, and I'm on fire at 8:50 in the morning.
Yes.
Usually I'm not on fire until about 9:30, but 8:50 because when the court starts, But this has gotten me. This one is disgusting. It's a blatant. It's anti-Semitism, and more importantly, it's damn dangerous. Okay, John Leventhal. I know John, great guy. I mean, clearly someone we want on the bench. Okay, no question, but he's not being excluded because he represented an unpopular client. First of all, that's a dangerous line to cross. And that whoever suggested that, I heard that quote from City Hall. That is the most repulsively unintelligent thing I've ever heard when it comes to determining qualifications. What the great lawyers do in this country, we don't choose our clients based on whether they're popular or not popular. We defend the Constitution of the United States of America by showing that everyone, even the most reviled defendant, receives competent legal representation. That's what we're commanded to do, okay? The principle is the fundamental bedrock of our justice system, Sid. So punishing a lawyer for representing someone who was, when I first heard it, I thought the suggestion was he was like on the island with Epstein. But the fact, no, that's why really, that's exactly, Sid, I'm not even kidding you. That's what I thought. Yeah. Because there's no way I thought, okay, because he represented someone who's unpopular, therefore he's going to be disqualified. I mean, you moron. Oh, so by the way, is there any doubt if the person was named, I don't know, El Sharari, and he was a lawyer and he represented one of the 9/11 bombers or one of the terrorists who committed one of these atrocious acts?
He's in. He's in.
I mean, would they ever cite that, right? So it's really every person accused of a crime is entitled to a lawyer. That's not a loophole. That's one of the cornerstones of our justice system. The Sixth Amendment doesn't only apply to popular people, okay? So it's so outrageous. It gets me so crazy. I have to tell you, I've just not heard this before. And they said, like, that could be the reason, but you come up with a fake reason. Like, you say something like, I don't know, he wears pink shoes.
Whatever it is, the number is right. The number is 0 for 19. So no matter what you're going to say, you look bad. It's 0 for 19. 140,000 Jewish lawyers, the most of any ethnic group. Well, not one.
That's even another. I'm just talking about Leventhal's denial based on their stated reason is one of the most outrageous things
ridiculous.
I've ever heard.
So you mentioned 9/11, and earlier this week I had a gentleman on this show, and he was great. His name is. What was it? Giovanni Galante, okay? So his wife at the time, Stacy, was 29 years old. She went to work in the South Tower, and she was murdered and died in those buildings. So this brave gentleman decided, Giovanni, to start a petition. He doesn't want the mayor down at that side. Either do I. A man that's friends with Hassan Pike, or a man that's endorsing Chevalier, who said America deserved 9/11, a man that takes smiling selfies in the street with clerics that were co-conspirators in the bombing of the buildings in 1993, of course doesn't belong there. And the families don't want him there. Not every family says it because they're afraid of political repercussion, what he may do to them, but none of those families want him there. So this guy comes on the show, and he's got about 15,000 signatures at the time. Now it's up to 50 because he came on this show, to be honest. But I'm with him 100%. I don't think the mayor should be anywhere near that sacred soil. He's going to go. He's already said he's going to go. But if he really cared, which he doesn't, about these families and New Yorkers, he would not show up. You know that, right?
but he doesn't care. So that's the end of that discussion. Of course he's going to be there with that stupid plastered smile. I mean, what you just said, I think it was Hassan Piker. I think that's who you quote, one of his connections, one of his affiliations.
Yeah.
He's the one who said that we deserved 9/11. The United States of America.
By the way, not only did he not say that, he said it on a podcast. You know who his guest was on that podcast who offered zero pushback? Zero? It was Mamdani.
No. So Mamdani was on the podcast.
Correct.
And that was said.
He was sitting on a kitchen table with Piker, and Mamdani didn't go, hey, listen, Hassan, come on, stop. That's a bit much. He didn't say a word.
A bit much. Yeah, that's more than a bit much. I would knock your teeth through your throat and down to your ankles. I swear to God. If someone said that in front of me, I forget that I'm a lawyer. I'd become a pit viper.
Right.
And I would just slaughter.
You would become that guy that to this day still owns a record for most hockey penalty minutes in the history of college hockey at Skidmore.
I would relocate his windpipe in about 1 second. and so I really would, Sid. And it really to hear that. So this piece of garbage is sitting there when one of his buddies, his allies, someone he supports said maybe one of the most disgusting things I've ever heard about our country, about those people who were killed. I have relatives who were killed and friends who were killed. So do you. So do we all. I dial it too. We all do. And it's disgusting that to hear someone say that, okay, and that he sat there and listened to it and didn't say, that's outrageous. That's outrageous. I'll even John McCain, when he was going against Barack Obama and someone questioned Obama's citizenship and what, McCain stepped in and said, no, you don't say that. That's not right and that's not fair. That's what you do when you have dignity, okay? What you don't do is sit there and let someone say something so despicable and not say a word and have the gall to show up at ground zero where your buddy just said we all deserve what happened.
Yeah.
I mean, he has no, and you know what? I know he's a mayor and he thinks he has to be there because of that. No. Well, if you are going to upset the families of the victims because of your prior political stances and your current political posturing, clearly, then don't do that. Don't go. Actually have the decency, not that he has the decency, but if he had even a modicum of decency in his body, you don't show up at 9/11 to inflict pain on these people.
Just nailed it. You just nailed it. That's it. I mean, if you care about, and you claim you care about New Yorkers, don't go, because the overwhelming majority, whether they say it or not, hate you. Sorry, they hate you. Don't go. Let me get the Fauci from yesterday. Let me start with Rand Paul, who was brilliant. I don't like Rand Paul.
You got me crazy right away.
I know. I'm glad I did. Because, by the way, whoever's got you in court this morning at 9:30, it'll be even better. Whoever your client is, you're welcome. You can thank Sid Rosenberg. You're welcome. I heard Rand Paul say, and I don't like Rand Paul, but I thought he was great yesterday. He was great. He said that next week they're gonna vote, I guess, and look to hold Anthony Fauci in contempt. What does that mean in terms of punitive repercussions? Anything?
Yeah, well, let's start with that first. What happens after someone is held in contempt? And I do want to get to the overriding question about his ability to plead the Fifth Amendment, but let's start with contempt. A contempt vote, Sid, isn't the end of the process, right? The matter can be referred for criminal prosecution. Congress can pursue a civil action to enforce compliance, or even in limited circumstances, it can rely on its inherent contempt power through really something that has really been used in modern times. And look, it's not a contempt citation is the beginning of the legal process, right? It's whether criminal charges are brought or penalties are imposed. It depends on a particular contempt mechanism being used and the actions of the appropriate authorities in the court. So really what happens is the judge decides at the end of the day if he has been in violation, if he's committed contempt, not
Rand Paul,
of course,
not Congress,
not Rand Paul,
right?
It's a judge at the end of the day.
And the guy's 85 years old, and he's a scumbag, and one of the worst people God ever created. But he is 85, and that may, I guess, be a part of the judge's decision. But you did bring up moments ago the big one, which is a lot of attorneys today, guys like John Turley, your friend, and others on Fox News. They are talking specifically about Joe Biden pardoned Mr. Fauci. So if he was pardoned by the president, he's not supposed to take the fifth, not once, let alone 111 times. What is the issue there?
That they're wrong. They're just wrong when they say that. whoever's saying that. A lot of people believe that because Biden pardoned Fauci, he automatically loses the right to invoke the Fifth Amendment. And that's not quite how the law works. Okay, that's a federal pardon. Joe Biden gave him a federal pardon, period, end of story. That's all he has the ability to do. A federal pardon removes the risk of federal prosecution for the conduct it covers. But the Fifth Amendment could still apply. Sid, if truthful answers could really expose someone to state criminal liability or to federal crimes outside the scope of the pardon. A lot of states, and we've heard a lot of scuttlebutt about this, are saying, I don't care if you've been pardoned. That pardon doesn't cover us, and we're going to prosecute you. We're going to investigate you. So whether they prosecute or investigate, even if there's and it's out there, we know that's out there, that states are actually considering the potential of investigating Fauci and maybe even prosecuting him. End of story about his ability to take the Fifth Amendment. He has the ability at that point. So it really, there's no, in my opinion, look, the pardon changes the legal landscape for sure, but it's only conceivably criminal exposure, if there was just federal conduct.
Gotcha.
And the argument for invoking the Fifth Amendment really is much weaker then, but it's not. Realistically, there's possibility of state prosecutions or prosecution for conduct not covered by the pardon, and then the privilege is definitely still available. So, if Congress challenges the invocation, of course, not the witness, not the committee, not some political, pact, they decide whether the privilege was properly asserted, period.
So on the way out, I think a lot of frustrations, Joseph, the amazing defense attorney, as you hear right now, Joseph Tacopina. I think a lot of people like me are frustrated over the years. Like Hillary Clinton broke the law. We saw Jim Comey, who's also he's corrupt and he should be in prison. But we saw him for 30 minutes tell us why she broke the law and then tell us, but I'm not going to do anything about it. He literally did that. He went on for 30 minutes about the emails and everything else. And then he said, we're just going to let it go. And there's so many other. Bill de Blasio's wife. Where's that money? $1 billion just disappeared. So people like me, who've now been doing this in New York for almost 11 years, yelling about these Democrats, always Democrats, doing all these horrible things, and they never, ever, ever face any real repercussion. Republicans have. Paul Manafort went to jail. Michael Flynn went to jail. Peter Navarro went to jail. Steve Bannon went to jail. These Democrats do 10 times worse. There never seems to be any repercussions. And my fear is it'll be the same thing with Fauci because he's 85. And the truth is they don't have any real proof. His diary does say some things that don't look good, but any real proof to really hammer the guy. So this will be another case, Joseph, where in the end, there'll be no real repercussions outside of ruining his legacy, right?
Legacy, well, you said it better than I could just have said it. That's exactly what's going to happen. His legacy will be ruined, but nothing else is happening to this guy. Be real. He's going to be permitted or deemed to have appropriately invoking the Fifth Amendment because of exposure in state prosecutions. No question about that. So we have that. So, there's not going to be a contempt proceeding. He took the fifth. That's it. And end the story. But yes, look, what he did is despicable, disgusting. It was fraudulent in many ways. That he profited off it. The whole thing. I mean, but anyway, long story short is you just nailed it. It's about a legacy that's decimated. So, congratulations, you had your 15 minutes of fame. At times the country thought he was a hero. It turns out he was not.
Right.
So great. 85 years old. Enjoy, the last few years, whatever it's going to be.
Yeah.
And
he's going to hell. He's going to hell.
Wow. So you believe in heaven and hell?
I do.
Okay. All right.
Where do you think I'm going?
Oh, you're going to heaven, Sid.
Oh, I love you.
I'll put in a word.
You got connections there, too. He's got connections with the judges, the army, God. He's got it all, Tacopina.
Yeah, take me with you, please.
You're coming with me. Don't worry, buddy. You're a wonderful, wonderful guy, and I love you so much. And you were great again just now, as you are everybody, even though today's Thursday. Jojo, I had to put you on because I'm not going to be here tomorrow. That's how much I value this segment. I love you. Great job. Thank you so much.
Okay, my brother.
Great work. Joseph Tacopina. That was really great, explaining all those legal details about the pardon and obviously about the contempt and all that. We still have two more great guests to come. It is Thursday. Nobody gets bigger ratings any segment, any day of the week on any show than Bill O'Reilly and Sid Rosenberg. Bill O'Reilly's coming up. We're also going to talk to the great Clay Travis.
Sid and Friends in the morning on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
He's got the best news website anywhere, BillO'Reilly.com. Great TV, no spin. Guy's got great interviews and just great columns, great conversations. Brilliant author, too, 13 in the Killing series. He's got the book on presidents, which is amazing. Confronting Evil, his newest book, but he's got a brand new book coming out this September. Very excited about that. Does a great job on News Nation every week with Chris Cuomo. And now he's got his own amazing podcast. He's got great guests. Great guests. Do it live with Bill O'Reilly. This guy does it all, and I do believe he is the best of all time. And I do want to ask him about Anthony Fauci, but I will give you the choice, Bill O'Reilly. Would you rather plead the fifth?
I would, because he's a weasel.
Yeah. No other way to put it, right?
And, he's the kind of guy, you're in Brooklyn, and my father was born in Brooklyn. I was raised in Levittown. We slap these guys around.
That's right.
I'm sorry.
That's right.
But, right?
Yes.
When we were kids?
Yeah.
This guy, I don't know if he'd get out of the stickball game.
You could add somebody else to that, too. You could add he'd be slapped around this Fauci creep, and so would Mamdani. Mamdani wouldn't last a day in Brooklyn.
Well, that's a whole different thing.
Yeah.
I mean, Fauci, just on demeanor.
Yeah.
Just on, he's such a weasel.
Right.
You could just see him sitting there, oh, boy, I'm getting famous. I don't really care what I'm seeing, and I don't really care whether it's accurate or not, which it wasn't. I'm getting famous. I'm on CNN tonight.
Yeah.
You just see it, you know. And
but what about you say it's true? But what about yesterday? Because people were saying to me that even yesterday, when for the most part, outside of Peters and Blumenthal, for the most part, he was getting clobbered, humiliated, that he even enjoyed that because he was a center of attention. What are your thoughts on that?
I think he knows he's going to die soon, so it doesn't matter.
Really?
Sorry, I mean, he had his run, right?
Yeah.
And now he goes, it's over. I can't come back from this. Anybody would know that. So I'll play it out. I don't want to go to jail. I don't want to, be dragged in a courtroom. My lawyers told me to do this because they don't want to open up the fifth, and I'll do it. But, when you know someone, and you do, we all know some people, they're narcissistic. So even though they do bad things on a regular basis, they never acknowledge it, ever, in their own mind. And I'm sure that's where his place is. Oh, I just did what I was told, or I really thought that, the Wuhan lab didn't do it, or whatever it may be. But he's not going to go home and weep that maybe people died that shouldn't have died. Children were denied school. He misled the world on where the origin of COVID came from. He's not going to go home and go, oh, no. He's just going to go home and go, it's not my fault.
Right.
Somebody else did it.
Right. And he's going to take the phone call from Barbara Streisand and Mila Kunis, and all these people are going to go, let me tell you something. The way they treated you yesterday was disgusting. You're still a hero as far as I'm concerned. And he's going to, right?
Some of that.
Yeah.
But not a lot of that. That crew, this is what I've noticed over the years. That crew, that progressive crew, once you start to embarrass them, or once you get into a position where they are not morally justifiable in sticking up for you, they're gone. They're gone.
They just run, huh?
I mean, right. They're not Joan of Arc. I mean, they're not standing up to the fire.
Right.
Okay? They'll turn on you very, very quickly. So you're not going to see Anthony Fauci on whatever channel loved Anthony Fauci. CNN was a big player in all
Huge,
this.
Yeah.
And they covered for him this week. There's Abby
Phillips. Yeah.
Oh, we're not going to talk about Anthony Fauci. If I were on that panel with Abby, I would have said to her, and I would have done it, why aren't we going to talk about Anthony Fauci? You stuck up for him for 2 years.
Isn't Scott Jennings on that panel? He would say that.
No, he wasn't there.
He wasn't there?
They were doing some kind of other. It was Lydia Moynihan.
Oh, give me a break.
For,
I know who she
New York
is.
Post.
Give me a break.
Yeah.
See, but here's the thing.
Doing some other
Yeah, but
thing. And,
forget about Abby Phillips, the former CNN host, who you're on the air with every week, and you brought relevance to. Congratulations. I know I kill him every week, but I'm sorry. Chris Cuomo would probably still defend him, would he not?
No, I wouldn't.
Really?
No.
Okay,
no.
good.
See, Cuomo, you got Cuomo a little bit wrong.
I do, okay.
All right, so he's a true believer in liberal causes, he's a Democrat, but he's not irrational. He doesn't go in and say, look, I want to deceive, because I would call him out on that if he did. He doesn't do that. So I would be shocked if Cuomo used his program to try to justify Anthony Fauci.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
I don't think he would do it.
Well, he wouldn't do it. He wouldn't do it
wrong, but I'll bet you.
Yeah, I think you're wrong. He wouldn't do it with you because you feel differently. He would do it with some other guests, the other 9,000 guests he brings on that are on his level of thinking.
I don't think so. He's smarter than that.
Well, bring it up. When are you on with him again?
Well, I don't even know. I was on with Katie Pavlik last night. I'll be on with her again.
I like her a lot. I've done her show a couple of times, too, at 10 o'clock. She's very good.
News Nation is coming up in the ratings, and they're kind of using me as a utility person.
As they should.
To jack up numbers when they need them. But I like doing Cuomo's show because it's the best debate show on television right now. But just see how I want to be everybody, including Cuomo. If he does it, then I'll come back on Sid and Friends, and I'll say you were right and I was wrong, and that will pain me. That will cause me angst to do that.
That's funny. I don't know. Maybe you're right. And I know he's very pro-Israel. I like that about Chris. I do. But I saw this guy way too many times defend Biden, take the pressure off Biden, not because he thought he was physically inept. He just defended the guy at every turn. It was moronic. It was stupid. So I can't tell you that I think this guy is rational when it comes to a lot of these subjects because he's still dug in as a Democrat. He's dug in.
He's a Democrat. If your father were named Mario Cuomo, you'd be a Democrat too. Come on.
But I was a Democrat. But I realized.
But what I'm trying to tell you is, he's indoctrinated into that world. But at times he'll go out of the world, and there are pundits who will never go out of the world.
When was the last time? When was the last time you were on with him, and he had something nice to say about President Trump? Anything?
We did I don't know the last time, but we did a phoner with Trump. And I know that Cuomo does talk with Trump occasionally, and Trump takes his call.
Andrew or Chris?
So he's not disrespectful. He just believes in the Democratic way. He believes it. He's not a Mamdani supporter, Chris Cuomo. I mean, obviously his brother ran against him, but he's not happy about Mamdani. He's not. So you got to look at the full canvas here when you're analyzing people. Now, I'm much more angry, I think that's a good word, about a CNN.
Yeah.
Which used the entire network, all the power it had worldwide. Remember, these people are on all over the world. Okay, they bought up all of the cable systems to get that network on, and you're in Korea, there's Wolf Blitzers. Frightens me to death, but he's there. They threw their whole weight behind Fauci.
Yeah, I know. Terrible.
And if you step back and you look at the damage done, it dwarfs any one or two people who were misguided or whatever they did when they threw in with Fauci. And when you use that kind of power to drive something that turns out to be false, and then you have no apology, you didn't hear CNN going, "Oh, well, we're really sorry, we didn't know," or "Are you here?" Abby Phillips, "What? We're not going to talk about him." I wish I were on that panel. I'd never be on that panel. I'd never put me on, ever in a million years. But I would have said, why not, lady? For 2 years, you pounded how brilliant the man was, and now you don't want to talk about him?
Nope. And all MSN Now is doing this morning, just so you know, MS Now, that nonsense. All they're talking about is how Todd Blanche should never be confirmed. They're upset that Jay Clayton got confirmed yesterday. DNI replaces Tulsi Gabbard. But now they're all over Todd Blanche, Joe and Mika. Now there's Stephanie Rule. That's all they care about. If President Trump wants somebody to work in the administration, they don't want him. Right? They should be talking about how Fauci lied and then, of course, took the fifth 111 times. None of that. No.
I'm going to give you a little inside baseball. I never watched that network. It's like Mad Magazine. All right? Joe Scarborough will be on a cover with the tooth missing. Okay? To me, that's what it is. It's Mad Magazine. Why am I going to devote anything? And to my staff, my dictum is they are out of the loop when you are investigating anything. You don't even bother looking at what they say.
Agreed.
Because this is a purely propaganda situation. 100%. Usually you got a little dash of something in there once in a while.
Yeah.
You get somebody.
Well, no. Like I hate to say it, but CNN, Scott Jennings lately, Liz Pipko, they've started to sprinkle in like Fox does with the other side with people like Harold Ford. But with CNN, it's 100%. We hate Trump. That's it. Not CNN. Okay, MS Now. MS Now. MS Now. Sorry.
Scott Jennings made a name for himself being on that network.
Right.
And so it's not like MS.
No.
Where they just won't. And I talked to a very big guy over there. I'm not going to give you his name because I kind of like the guy. And he was, we had a frank conversation. And he just admitted that look, these people want to make money. That's all they want to do. They know what their audience is. Hard left. No in the middle left. No, none of that. Hard left. And they are not going to go out of that profile. Everything is going to be reported from a hard left point of view. And that's what's happening. So if you want to waste your time over there, good. It's America. You can waste your time any way you want. Just keep it legal.
Yep.
So I wanted to also talk about just briefly, because I know you're up against the gun. You got to bring in Travis. I'm being on Travis's show. I do a show once in a while.
You do?
These guys are pretty smart, but they're very confirmed right wingers as well. I mean, they don't go out. Fox doesn't go out too much into the area of, this is the key to the Fifth Amendment. Okay? And this is important, and everybody should be listening up right now. Trump's going to need this.
Why?
He's going to need the Fifth Amendment.
Why?
Because when he gets out of there, they're going to come after everybody who even knows Trump. You and I are going to be indicted for something. I don't know.
No, we may not be indicted, but I'm serious. I've had people tell me the last couple of weeks, don't be surprised if you're subpoenaed.
Yeah. Look, if the progressives ever take over or get a majority in the House and Senate, then Trump is going to pardon a whole bunch of people in his last few weeks in office. There's going to be a laundry list, and starting with his family, and he should. He should. Okay? If you start to break down that presidential privilege by saying, oh, no, the states can override it, which they can't constitutionally. Okay, federal government always trumps state. So if they try it, they'll lose. But Donald Trump's going to need the pardon of the power of the pardon. He's going to need it to keep people that have helped him and his own family safe from millions of dollars in legal fees. People they don't understand it. Once you're indicted or once you go in, you got to have $1 million to hire Tacopina or whoever to come save you. And so you can't just be blowing the filibuster out of there, blowing the pardon out of there. You can't do it because it'll come back to hurt you.
Right. And don't forget, you say indicted. This poor bastard was indicted 4 times. I mean, Dillinger, Gotti, the worst people. And I happen to like John Gotti, but I mean, some of the biggest criminals in history weren't indicted as much as President Trump.
But that helped Trump.
It did in the
That's
end,
how
yes.
bizarre
Yes.
Our country is right now. The worst that the impeachment, and that was just so foolish. I can't believe it. All right. I mean, you mentioned I wrote confronting the president. So I know every president. I know what they went through. I know it was out to get them, and I know what happened. There's nothing even comes close to impeaching somebody because he's on the phone with the leader of Ukraine going, hey, we think there's some illegality here. Look into it, please. Because it involves Ukraine and a Ukrainian company.
Even after, by the way, the sitting president, Biden, admitted to it on videotape. Even after that, he made that phone call, making it even more ridiculous. And by the way, if we do lose the House, I say we, me, not you, in November, here come more impeachments. More to write about, Bill.
Now, I don't know whether you noticed this or not, but you did mention kindly, as you do every week, about my long form called We'll Do It Now. And the reason we call it We'll Do It Now is when I was 11 years old, I cursed on television and somebody taped it.
Right.
Okay, and then they sold it.
Yeah.
They sold the tape. And it got out there in social media, and it made me look like an idiot, which, okay, that's just the way it is. So I'll Do It Now has become an enormous success. I cut 2 weeks ago, maybe 10 days ago, a 40-minute analysis of Howard Stern.
I saw it. It was great. I watched it. It was great.
Thank you.
It was great. And you talk about seeing him at Boston University, which he still denies to this day, but you did a very good job of setting up just how you knew this guy.
Well, I got him on tape admitting that he and I were classmates because he came on The Factor.
Correct.
But he's kind of getting up there. But I didn't hatchet him. I didn't go in and eviscerate him.
No, you didn't.
I told the audience why his operation was disintegrating. And that, the viewership for that was crazy.
It was great. I'm not surprised.
Today, we're dropping Dr. Oz.
Love him.
We have Oz.
Yep.
Okay?
It's great.
You've never seen him like this, ever. And this one, I challenge you because I challenge everybody. But this one's about you and your health and why the government doesn't help you enough to throw off your maladies and live longer. It's fascinating. Okay? And Oz, I think, enjoyed the joust.
Sure.
Because we got into why. I'll just give one example. You buy cigarettes, what do you got on the label? Caution, cigarette smoking can be damaging to your health, right? Okay. Why on Oreos don't you have a label that says caution, sugar can give you diabetes?
It should say that. And I think Bobby Kennedy would want that. And Dr. Oz.
Well, Bobby Kennedy doesn't eat Oreos because they're not wild animals. But there's no label.
Nope.
And there's never been a suggestion of a label that all this trash food. I have a 7-Eleven right around the corner from me. There's nothing I can eat there.
Nothing.
Nothing in the whole store.
Nope. Beef jerky. What about beef jerky, Bill?
I go to the Pakistani guy behind the counter. Do you have anything that's not going to hurt me? In the whole store. You know what he gave me?
What?
Firewood. Okay?
Oh, God.
I mean, lying after lying after lie. It's all junk. It's all unbelievable.
Yeah.
Why don't you put a picture of a dead kid on the product?
Yeah, you should.
Right?
Yeah.
Or a cemetery.
Yeah.
Just and those are the questions. You know, you want to make America healthy again? Good. That's a noble, noble thing. But you've got to get out there and spread the militant word. And cigarette smoking has disintegrated in America.
It's basically gone. Yeah, that industry
Right.
is dead.
If you go to Greece, I mean, these people are they got 5 cigarettes, 2 in their ears,
all over,
1 in their nose.
Yeah,
and
all over Europe and the Middle East too.
It's crazy.
I know. Israel too. They
It's
smoke.
crazy.
I know.
And then we find out this week that more people, Americans, use pot every day
Yeah,
than smoke cigarettes.
I know. Yeah.
So now we have an inebriation problem all over the place. I don't know if you noticed, but to some of the delivery guys that come to my house.
Oh, that's terrible. Notice it.
How did you get here? Do you know where you are?
I can't walk
Do you have
down.
any idea what state
I
you're
know.
in?
I can't walk down a city street without getting high every day. I don't even smoke weed, but I just have to walk down the street in New York City. I get a high. It's
And
terrible.
the tragedy is if you plant yourself, and I did this physically, outside of middle school in New York City, those kids are loading up before they go in. And you're talking 12, 13 years old.
It's terrible. It's terrible. I know. No, that'll be great. I had Oz in studio here 2 weeks ago, but nobody does it like you. I'll admit that. So I'm going to watch that. It's dropping today, you said? Today at noon?
Sorry, we drop it at noon for premium members on BillO'Reilly.com, and then I think it rolls out at 6 for the whole world to see it. But it is worth watching.
I'm sure it is. You're both great, especially you, Bill. You're the best ever. And this was another amazing appearance this morning. Bill O'Reilly, I love you. Thank you so much.
All right, let's try to isolate Fauci, you and me. We'll throw a little thing over his head. We won't hurt him. We'll just mock him.
Right.
We'll just
okay.
make fun of him.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll meet you in Manhasset later on today. We'll take care of that, okay?
All right.
See you,
Thanks
buddy.
for having me, Sid.
Oh, come on. You're the best ever. Bill O'Reilly right there. Another amazing Thursday appearance on Sid and Friends. We'll take a break. Clay Travis still to come.
Sid and Friends in the morning on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
So big night coming up next Sunday. I very rarely go to the Hamptons, but I'll be in West Hampton next Sunday night. For more details, call Lewis. Don't bother me. I'm begging you. Leave me alone.
I'm around.
He's around. And we're going to go to break because I've had so many great guests on today. I mean, really, from Gerard Maroney to Ron Johnson to Brian Kilmeade to Joseph Tacopina to Bill O'Reilly. But I got to get to Clay Travis. This WNBA stuff is huge, and men in women's sports. Everybody loves Clay. 1.5 million Twitter followers. Clay Travis, formerly of Outkick.com.
Sid and Friends in the morning on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Clay, good morning, buddy. How are you?
I'm great. How are y'all?
We're doing great. Do you see me on Fox on Saturday when I called Mamdani a terrorist and Griff Jenkins apologized for me twice? Did you know that story?
I did see that story. That is really, really funny.
Yeah, I call him a terrorist on the air, and Griff stops me. So I start yelling at Griff. I go, Griff, the guys that are hiding out in Qatar, those Hamas guys, they never wore an explosive vest. They never shot a gun. They're still terrorists. Don't tell me he's a terrorist. And I leave. I do the segment with Rachel and Griff and Charlie. And in the last 2 hours of the show, I'm gone. Not once, but twice, Griff Jenkins apologized for me. So
it's very, very funny. I, did national sports gambling shows back in the day. And probably once a month or so, one of us on the show would say something, and the host of the show would have to apologize live on the air without us having been told that the apology was coming. Right. It was like a preemptive attempt to protect the network from things we had said. Yeah. And I will say, I do believe like the whole cancel culture era has basically vanished, but I think a lot of the rules, which were broken in the first place, right? Like an apology doesn't actually make anyone happy, right? Because the goal is not for you to screw up and say, oh, I'm sorry. The goal is to try and break and humiliate and destroy you. No one is actually offended. They just want to cut your balls off and not allow you to be able to say what you really think. That's the entire goal. Nobody's ever actually offended. If you are, you're an adult. Grow up. Who cares?
Bang. You just nailed it. That's why I love Clay Travis. Excellent. So, you talked about gambling shows, and I was made aware of this on your Twitter. I do follow you and read your stuff every day. Are you telling me that these ladies, including that thug Yes, I called her that. White or black, you can still be a thug. Angel Reese, they're betting on their own games and cutting videos about it.
This is one of the dumbest things I've ever seen in the history of at least the social media era. Yeah, this video is up. You can go see it on my Twitter feed at Clay Travis. I couldn't believe it last night when I saw this.
Me too.
Paige Buckers, who was a star at UConn, and Angel Reese, who got into it with Caitlin Clark back in the day when LSU played Iowa. They bet $400 on the outcome of their game last night, and the WNBA itself posted the video of each of them publicly making the bet and showing the cash that was at stake. Now, $400 on a WNBA game is like 90% of the salary these girls make. So, I mean, this is big money they put on the line.
Oh, my God. And it's illegal. You can't bet on games.
It's crazy. I mean, it's absolutely insane. I mean, imagine what the story would be like if and we saw Shohei Ohtani's gambling scandal where it was just a guy had access evidently to his bank account.
If you believe that.
Right. Yes. But it was a huge story. It was front page news for multiple days. We all know what happened to Pete Rose back in the day. I can't even think of a male sport where two guys, I mean, heck, when people bet on NFL games, right, even small parlays, guys have gotten suspended for an entire season.
Yeah.
I don't know what the WNBA is going to do because it ties on also. I'm sure you saw this. The Seattle Storm had an owner who berated two teenage girls who wore shirts supporting Sophie Cunningham, coming out in favor of men not being able to play women's sports. It's just a broken league run by morons.
It really is. But I was glad that Clay, that they suspended that co-owner. I think her name is Ginny something or other Gilman. I'm glad they did that because to me, look, this is a racist league. But he says to me, why Caitlin Clark? Because she's white. And this league was a bunch of black girls. That's it.
And straight.
That's it. A bunch of black girls. And it's like, this is our league, bitch. And she comes in and she becomes a star and they're all beating her up. And who comes to our rescue? A white girl. Pretty, too. Sophie Cunningham. Sophie Cunningham, to me, is a hero. I'm glad at least the league suspended this co-owner. But for the most part, this league is a mess. It's a racist league, Clay Travis.
Yeah, look, it's a league run by black lesbians that hate a straight white girl. I mean, I think I was one of the first to say this, and people just, gasped. And then you start seeing Caitlin Clark getting throat punched. You see that the league won't even speak out in her favor, right? When awful things happen to her, they have to tiptoe around it. And by the way, I don't care who you sleep with. I don't care anything else. If you have someone in your league that is the difference between you having to fly commercial and getting to fly private, I'm sorry. I would do whatever that person wanted. If I didn't have to if I was making hundreds of thousands of dollars, as many of these girls are, more than we otherwise would. She is the goose that laid the golden egg, and they're trying to strangle the goose to death. It's one of the dumbest things I've ever seen.
I saw Riley Gaines on, I couldn't agree more. I saw Riley Gaines on Fox News earlier, and she was also extolling Sophie's virtues. We all love Sophie Cunningham. But something else you put on Twitter, you nailed it again, Clay Travis. You said that when it comes to men competing in women's sports, we all know it's terrible. It's not bad. It's terrible. It's immoral. It's dangerous. There's nothing good about it, okay? Nothing. And yet, for the most part, men realize that, right? And women, they're the ones in this case who are being victimized. And yet it's the women that are not coming to the realization as quickly as the men. What is that about?
Yeah. I think, honestly, women's empathy is being, and I've never met a man who has said, yeah, you know what, I think that men should be able to compete in women's sports. I have never met one in my entire life.
Me either, not one. Me either.
I think this is probably in your audience. I'm not sure there's a single guy listening to us right now that would agree with men and women's sports. I think it's a 99.9 to 0.1 or whatever the heck it is issue. And the only men that would not have maybe have that opinion have never played sports, right? Any guy who has ever played high school sports and knows the difference between just high school level, any guy out there that's coached, if you coached a 7th grade girls team versus a 7th grade boys team, and these are different species as soon basically as we get testosterone rolling in for men. Women, I really believe this, are being taken advantage of because They're trying to be kind. They're trying to be empathetic. They're trying to be what women often are, nurturing, and they don't want to be the bad guy. And bad, ill actors are taking advantage of that empathy, and they're weaponizing against the women. These women think they're being kind, and actually the question is, who should your kindness go to? The little girl who doesn't get to make a team because a boy took her spot, the girl who doesn't get to start because a boy took her spot, or the boy who has decided that he's going to identify as a woman. To me, inclusion ultimately leads to exclusion, particularly in sports, because there's only so many team jobs. There's only so many team positions. There's only so many starters. So if you let a boy in, then ultimately you are excluding a girl in the name of inclusion, and they're taking advantage of it because they're focusing for women on the inclusion part and not the end result, the exclusion.
What a shame. I got to tell you, the Jets and Giants opened up training camp 2 days ago, and I'm a huge college football fan because I spent a lot of my life down in Florida, in Miami. So ACC football, SEC football. I know you had the SEC weekend last weekend, and I actually spoke to Ariel Epstein, who's a lovely young lady. So with football season starting, Clay, I hope you will come on this show even more because, again, I think the world of you. I think you're great. I really do. Politics, sports, it doesn't matter. You're fantastic. Thank you so much for hopping on this morning.
Appreciate it. Apologies to Jets fans for the seasons they're going to have.
Well, how bad is it going to be? They got Geno Smith back.
It's going to be bad. I think you're going to sit back and look. To be fair, there's a lot of good young quarterbacks that I think are going to be in the 27 draft. So if I were a Jets fan, I'd go ahead and start watching some of those guys and daydreaming about who we might get.
All right, give me my team. I'm a Giant guy. I did the Giant pregame show for WFAN for 3 years. We got Jackson Dart in his second year, the starting quarterback. What do you think of my Giants?
I'm optimistic about the Giants. Now, I didn't love. I'm sure you saw Scatabo doing the backflip as he's trying to recover from the leg. But I do think Jackson Dart is going to be a very good quarterback in the league. I like how decisive he is. Team seems to stand behind him for the most part and believe in him. I think you will see a big jump for Jackson Dart, presuming he can stay healthy. He needs to stay in the pocket more. Don't need to take the hits that he's taking. Sometimes feels gratuitous, unnecessary when he's scrambling. Get out of bounds faster, slide more, stay healthy. I think you'll see a big jump.
Clay Travis, amazing job, buddy. Thank you so much. Let's keep doing this, okay, buddy? Thank you so much.
Yeah, for sure. Happy to come on. Appreciate y'all.
God bless you. Clay Travis right there, and Outkick.com. I think he's done with them, though. I'm hearing rumors that maybe Clay be doing something of his own. I don't know. He's terrific.
Thanks for listening to Sid and Friends in the Morning. You can hear Sid and Friends in the Morning weekday mornings at 6. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?